Okay, let me just start linking this up. Okay, buddy. You just sound test. Oh, when you want to start the audio recording?
Yeah, when I start the other recording, we can start audio recording.
Okay.
Can you talk for a sec?
Talking for a sec.
One more time.
Talking for one more time.
Okay. That's looking better.
Nice. Well, I'm ready when you are.
All right. You can't see shit, but you're ready.
Yeah, I can't see, but I'm ready. Hey, what's up, James? Yeah, it's been quite a lot of content to get through SC-wise, right? Well, the games haven't been super great in the SSL thus far, but we'll see.
That tends to be how it goes. Like a few like clowns and weirdness get through to the round of 32, and then round of 16 is like serious mode.
Yeah. James says his wife is tired of it all.
His wife is tired of all the SC content.
Yeah, because he's watching, I guess, the SSL and KCM and other stuff, you know. So I was like, yeah.
Got to get her own TV or something, man. She got a phone, right?
That's the thing. Is she tired of it because she's not got her own thing going on? She wants you to like watch a show with her or some shit.
My wife is watching Lost right now.
Apparently, she hears us right now.
She's deep in it. She's deep in Lost right now.
That show drags out like crazy. There's a lot of content there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed to make it last that long with I guess it's just good directing. The director was very good.
How many seasons was it? Was it like 7 or 8 or something crazy? I don't
something
know.
like that. Something crazy. I don't know how they've been eating that whole time. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Only thing they ever caught was a boar in that show. So weird. Caught one boar and then they live off of it for like a year, 2 years, something like that. Makes no sense.
Maybe they were stuck in a time loop and they just weren't getting that much hungrier as the days were ticking, you know?
Yeah. You'd think they would have noticed that. I don't really feel hungry. How many days has it been? Strange. I haven't really been eating anything. How come I'm still the same and I still look, you know, I haven't lost any weight. Yeah. I look the same.
Kind of weird. Like, yeah, you fasting that much, you'd expect the pounds to just drop off of you, right?
Yeah. They may not have been eating much, but they might have been eating something, but they weren't eating 3 square meals a day. That's for sure.
Oh, apparently James is going to the next SSL. He's begging his wife in advance.
All right, James, come meet me there. Round of 4, man. I'm actually gonna announce it here pretty soon.
Oh, sick.
I'm gonna go to round of 4.
Nice, man.
Yeah, I have one other guy's going with me so far, and yeah, I'll put out the word and see if we can get like a bunch of people on board.
Yeah, get a crew going.
That would be fun. I'll go out for dinner after and stuff.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be fun. The last time, just totally impromptu, I ended up hanging out with Steve and one guy from the Patreon, so...
He means next one, James. Well, you mean the next SSL, right? Or do you mean this one happening right now? Soon.
Yeah, this one happening right now, October.
Okay. You want to go for that round of 4?
Yeah, round of 4, yeah.
Okay. No, James, he's thinking about doing this round of 4 for this one. You're talking about doing the next SSL, right?
Oh, that would be in like April or something.
Yeah, be a while from now. I think James is all cut up now.
I might go to that one too.
Yeah.
You don't know? We don't know.
It's true though, you're like way closer to Korea geographically from Japan. How much does it cost to get to Korea from Japan? How expensive is it?
It's like $200 round trip.
God damn. You compare that to like what it costs to get there from like America or Europe or something. That's like crazy cheap.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Damn, Sam.
There's a lot of like cross tourism between Japan and Korea. People go back and forth all the time. They act like they hate each other, but they actually fucking love each other.
It's like banter between friends and they like say really hurtful shit to each other, but really they all get along.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Some sort of weirdness. But like yeah, they go to each other's countries all the time. The tourists, they're like the number one tourists from each other. Yep. Anywho.
I doubt we'd be person.
Yeah, let's get into this. Clear my throat here. Okay.
I'm ready when you are. You want to start recording?
Let's do it. Yeah. All right, here we go. Week number 2 is looking to be an absolute banger as we start with Bisu versus Shine. I'm going to bring up the score on the screen. Sharp, Light Rush, Bisu, Mini, Mighty, Action, Jaedong, Shine. Lots of big names this week. Mighty, the only one who's like a tourist, a guest here. Everybody else is like a round of 4, round of 8 finalist in the SSL. Pretty insane.
Yeah, no, this is probably the strongest lineup we've seen in a long time. Like you say, Mighty, a little bit of the weak cog in the machine here. But Bisu and Mini, very potent players. Maybe they can carry it for the Protoss squad this time around.
Yeah, I really like this Zerg lineup. I mean, it's always nice to have Soul Key in there. He's obviously the best right now. But Shine, Jaedong, they've been showing some amazing gameplay recently.
Yeah.
And, you know, bringing us to some awesome games. Shine especially has been carrying in the KCM, but Jaedong has actually been showing up really, really big lately, and he's one of the few Zergs in the SSL right now.
Yeah, there's actually really hardly any Zergs in the SSL. Like so many Terrans going into it. We'll have to see how that all pans out once all the group stages are done. But yeah, like Action, Jaedong, and Shine, very talented Zerg players. I'm happy to see all three of them. Action's he's not had like the most amazing performance as of late in like recent seasons, but he still can hold his own. So this Zerg squad is pretty strong. And Sharp Light Rush is a crazy squad as well. I can't really tell who's going to come out on top here just from the squads alone. Maybe a slight edge to the Terran squad here. I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, going into game number 1 with Bisu and Shine, I'm curious to see if Shine's going to go anything crazy this game. He looks like he's just an overpull into expand right now. So far, Bisu doing a pretty good job of delaying this hatchery as much as possible, still getting the block there. Oh, he doesn't quite get it there, but delayed it just a few seconds, so slight edge going into Bisu. And he was able to start that Nexus before the Forge as well, and there's no real room here for Shine to punish, I don't think.
That's going to be really hard to punish. You know, Minstrel is a new map. I think Bisu has already worked it out completely, though, making sure that he won't take any damage from links that might be coming across the map. And with only 2 links popping out, probably not even going to try to do any sort of run by here as Shine. Bisu might be able to get away with 1 cannon after Nexus first, which is just such a big advantage in this matchup. It's so strong to have that very quick Nexus.
Right.
You're going to have your quicker gas. You're going to have basically everything hopped up by about like 20 seconds.
Yeah, there's no drone scout as well, because even though it's a one versus one map, it's kind of cross spawn, so it takes a long time for this overlord to actually come in here and confirm what the choice of opening was for the Protoss as well. So it's going to be very difficult for Shine to be able to punish this, at least in the early stages of the game. So Bisu kind of getting away with a little bit of early game economic murder, and it's going to probably set him up quite nicely.
Oh yeah, for sure. Bisu feeling very good right now, and that Overlord scouting. He sees the wall. He hasn't seen the Nexus just yet, so he doesn't know that this is Nexus first, but I don't think there's any real difference in what he can do to play a Hydra Den right away. So he's actually going to try and bust this, potentially? Or is he just going to just push the wall?
Well,
only 2 lings in the front. How can he block the probe? It's so low, but Bisu should be able to get in with just 2 lings defending. I mean, if he gets in and sees this, he's just going to be able to counter it easily.
Yeah, but the probe's already really low HP. I don't think he's going to be able to get this probe in. He's going to have to rely on this Zealot coming in here, and if Shine's not playing super greedy, he should have made an extra pair of lings or 2 in just a moment here. Around 19 supply, you would expect the Zealot threat to need to be dealt with. But because of the opening from Bisu, it's actually a little bit slower than that. So it seems like he is kind of geared into the fact that this was an earlier Nexus, just based on the fact that he has delayed making additional lings so long. So it seems like he's kind of clued into what Bisu's gone for this game. And yeah, I'm not too sure if this is going to be a committed Hydra bust, or if he's just going to do a little bit of a fake, try and take out the wall, and then transition from there. And that's going to be the aim of the game for Bisu to try and figure that out. Has got these additional pair of Zerglings to zone out this healthier probe that's cycled back in to try and get scouts. Still not able to get any information gleaned here. Tries to get around these lings now. If he can get this probe to be huge, but I don't think he's going to get to the ramp in time, so I think still going to be denied this precious scouting information. If he sees a Hydralisk coming out of one of these eggs or something, that would be a great tell. So if he can just hover around a little bit and try and figure this out, it would be great. But there's some additional lings coming down from the 3rd base now to really shut down this probe.
This is quite a lot of lings. There's also information being gleaned here by Bisu. The number of lings and the lack of ling speed is a pretty big tell. Some Zerg players will actually go for ling speed as well, just to try and sell this a little bit more as a normal macro play, but that's not the case here for Shine. He's going to have a hard time hiding this, and we've already got another cannon on the way. Hydras are heading across the map here on Minstrel. It's a pretty quick rush distance. When it comes to ground, it's a pretty straight shot across the map, and there it goes. He sees the Hydras coming. I think these cannons are going to be okay on time here. He's got 4 zealots actually. He hasn't wasted even a single zealot. So that's going to factor into how quickly this bust can happen as well.
Right, we see a 4th hatchery being made, so it looks like the transition's already going to be coming underway. We'll be seeing probably, I wouldn't say like the bare minimal amount. He'll probably try and do some damage here and go. He's trying to get this tough target of the cannon down. If he can get away from these zealots without taking too many losses, maybe he can still get the forge here, or at least this pylon at the bottom, put a little bit of pressure on. But I doubt he's going to be committing to this. I imagine we're going to be seeing a bit of a transition out here from Shine. I guess it's possible he might do a follow-up bust. He might try and weaken the position and do a follow-up bust with just a 4-hatch Hydra behind this, but I'm not seeing that. I think it might be more and more likely that we'll see a big transition out of Shine in the coming moments here, and just trying to sell Bisu on making as much defense as possible while also killing this wall at the front. Getting this forge and gateway will be a pretty big win, shutting down this upgrade timing here, which shouldn't have finished up by now.
Yeah, he definitely stopped that upgrade. I'm not even going to check. Oh, he's jumping forward again. Going to get another cannon. He's putting on a lot of pressure to Bisu. 2 cannons go down. How many more Hydras are coming up? There's only 3 behind this. He's going to get another cannon. Well, he's not actually making more Hydras behind this. I don't think he is. I believe he's making drones. So this is a lot of pressure to Bisu right now. It's going to force out a lot more cannons, but I don't think it's a real commitment. Oh my god, imagine if he was rallying Speedlings or Hydras behind this. He might actually be able to just straight up win. He's going to dive on another cannon. Did Bisu walk the line a little bit too close? I think so. He might have just not built enough defenses here. And Shine identifies that. He gets in, he kills so many cannons and a ton of probes. These other 3 cannons will finish up. But now Bisu is light years behind. A few more Hydras coming forward, but I think it's too late now. Yeah. Zealots have that speed, and like 4 Zealots can pump out at the same time. Or no, there's only 2 gateways here in the natural. Is there anything in the main? No, just 2 gateways in the natural. So 2 at a time should be enough for Bisu to hold on. He's not going to die right now, but he's just taking a lot of damage, and this transition is looking very strong for Shine. Wow, there's no drones at the 3rd base. Okay, yeah. Is he actually just going to keep going with this? It's kind of wild.
Yeah, I think he identified that he had to commit with the 4-hatch Hydra timing, which was my first assumption, but I kind of second guessed myself. But I guess this is actually the play that he wanted to go for, or maybe he identified that the defensive timing of BC was weak enough that he had to commit to this and punish this right here, right now. There is enough Zealots to soak at the front. That's buying BC very valuable seconds and getting up these additional cannons. And the Corsair sees that there's no drones at this 3rd base, so BC is very well aware. If he could just hold on here as cost efficiently as possible, he's going to be in a great position. But so far, there's kind of like a bit of a juxtaposition here, as like still Shine picking away at these cannons on the southern threshold of that line. So he's getting a pretty good trade with these cannons, but slowly but surely Bisu is keeping them at bay. It's just that there's more and more rallied Hydras coming in, and without the transition into later tech, it's going to be a little bit difficult for Shine to do too much for very much longer. So he needs to get something done right here, right now, with the units he's got before Storm becomes relevant. It's going to be a long time before that Templar Archives is finished with Storm Research. So there's probably like a window of like a minute and a half, 2 minutes here for Shine to try and close out this game, or at the very least maybe consider setting up a contain here and maybe going into a lurker transition. But you might be thinking about a kill move, which is what Bisu is assuming here. That's why we see so many cannons being thrown down. The lairs going down at the 3rd.
Lair starts. Drones are being pumped out now. I feel like this transition is too late now.
Yeah.
The Zealot speed came in just in time, and you can see what a difference it makes in holding on against the Hydras, running forward and trying to gun down cannons. The Zealots can just get there immediately, start to hit those Hydras and add that damage on. They die so much quicker, and things just kind of falling apart here for Shine. Can he try to right the ship here? Get something going in terms of economy, because, you know, all that damage that was done to Bisu early on, all those probe kills, they don't really mean much anymore. He's been pumping away on 2 Nexi for quite some time, and during all that time, Shine was not really producing drones. So the good position that we saw Shine having a little bit earlier has kind of been thrown to the wayside here, and with those Templar out now, Storm is going to be relevant. this is going to have to be a contain. There's not really an option of breaking through anymore.
Yeah, basically, he's Shine's best hope is that Bisu made too many cannons and slowed down the force that's required to break out of the contain. The only issue is that this transition into lair is just a little bit on the slower side. See a Spire coming down as well. It's going to be very potent. Maybe if he can just catch a few of these observers with some Scourge and deny any vision from Bisu, maybe he can get the contain going, but it's going to be a little bit of time before the Lurker tech is finished. You can actually do a proper solid contain here. It's going to be mainly just Hydras setting up the soft contain, hoping for the best. Will be a lot of storm dodging required here. High Templars moving out into position. I hope that Shine's going to be ready for this. Okay, pretty good storm dodge, So far so good. Going to be morphing that into an Archon. There's only a couple of High Templars behind this, so Shine's actually thinking about pulling the trigger on this. He should be wary though. Should probably pull back here, right now. Doesn't want to force the issues. So many cannons here. You don't want to give any value to these cannons. You want to force these to be dead weight and killed off by Bisu later, just to get his unit flow out so he can break out of the contain later.
Yeah, losing any units to those cannons right now is such a pain for Shine. He has managed to re-drone quite well. He's got a reasonable economy going right now, but his tech is so far behind. His upgrades are behind. Everything is behind right now. And, I mean, we might be having Lurkers come up soon. We might have a big wave of Muta. It's really up to Shine and how he wants to play this next step. He's still got the containment here, but if he starts to morph eggs right out in front of the natural, Bisu might see that and just go for the kill, try to push out. You have to kind of hide it here, and he's going to make Mutas.
Ooh, okay.
This is actually what I was thinking. Muta is a pretty good option. It doesn't leave that room for punishing that Bisu would have if you try to make a Lurker contain out in front of this right now.
Right, and it's going to force even more cannons out of Bisu. That's another 2 cannons minimum going down in the main base, maybe another 1 or 2 in the natural, depending on the positioning. But at the very least, it's going to be really annoying here for Bisu, because even this one Corsair is going to be chased down, and it's going to be a long time before he'd ever have 6 Corsairs out to deal with Scourge and what have you. So he's probably going to be relying mainly on this Dragoon Templar Archon for anti-air while pushing out here. And only 3 Dragoons, so as long as he can just avoid this Archon, the Muta can kill the Archon with good micro, but doesn't look that's even going to be required. Just some good positioning and storm dodging is all that's required to get a lot of value out of these Mutalisks. A lot of juice already being squeezed out of the orange here for Shine with pretty minimal investment. Of 3 cannons in the main base is going to be able to keep these Mutas at bay, but just 1 or 2 High Templar snipes could spell disaster here.
Yeah, flying right over top of these probes. Ooh, a storm goes down on some of the probes there. It does quite a bit of damage, but quite a bit of damage to the economy as well. Now only 6 Mutas remain. Will Shine recommit to Mutas? Is he going to make another wave? Try to snipe some Templar? He hasn't really killed any Templar so far.
Right.
And the pure Hydra is going to struggle against, what do we got here? 4 or 5 Storms? Oh, drones coming to the front. He's kind of messed this up. He's coming in with those 6 Mutas that remain, but even, oh god, there's the Lurkers. This is a big headache for Shine. He snipes 1 Templar on the way out, but that cost him dearly. Shine not able to hold that containment, and Bisu moved out at the perfect timing there to punish.
Yeah, he's opened up this map completely for himself. It's going to be almost impossible for Shine to reset up a contain like that now. He's going to have to run with his tail between his legs. See if he can get some of these Templars while the army's in transition. Maybe get this Templar pretty good, but does trade off the Mutas for it. He's still worried about the amount of Zealots here because he was forced back from morphing Lurkers. There's not even Lurkers back at home to deal with this Zealot flood that's coming in. It's going to be a little bit annoying here for Shine to kind of clean up back at home. And it looks like the Zealot's getting pretty good surround on these Hydras as well, while the rest of the army is coming in to reinforce. So these Lurkers are a little bit out of position now. With the Dragoons now on top of them, it's going to be a bit awkward. I don't think there's any detection here. Okay, there is an Observer right there. I thought the Observer got sniped off me, but this actually means that Bisu pretty much wins the game here. He's going to be just tapping out. GG. Really early victory on the board for the Protoss squad here, so
Ooh,
damn.
That's rough.
We saw Bisu win in similar fashion on this map. It seems like he likes to just run it down the mid, regardless of the phase of the game against Zerg. Like whether it's like early, mid, late, he seems to love running it down mid against Zerg.
It feels like a long distance, right? The Overlord takes a long time to get over there, but it's a pretty quick rush down the middle.
Yeah.
Doesn't take long to get across that map.
Yeah. There's no slowdown. I mean, if you were more, if there was a more potent muta threat and you were more worried about Templar snipes on the transfer, or there was a lurker field already established, you had to like more tentatively push across bridges and what have you, it'd be a different story. But yeah, the tempo was just way too much in Bisu's favor there. I can't really blame Shine. I think it was like kind of necessary to pull the trigger on committing to the 4-hatch. It just didn't go his way.
Just a second here. Make sure that recording's okay.
No worries.
Yeah. Gonna free up some space here too. Okay.
What are you?
Sending out Light here for set number 2. We are on Deja Vu with Bisu spawning top right, Light in bottom right. Kind of a wild game, that last one. A little bit sad to see Shine go out so early, but Bisu played a hell of a game.
Yeah, that's for certain. I saw him like min-maxing his and hedging his bets a lot that game. We saw a lot of like couple of cannons made, couple of cannons cancelled here and there, like really trying to figure out just the right formula to hold off the aggression from Shine, and managed to calculate that almost flawlessly while still preserving enough economic powerhouse to push out and get everything steamrolling before the lurkers were positioned correctly. Yeah, everything was just firing all cylinders FBC, but I can't fault Shine for going for the 4-hatch play. It did kind of make sense with the way the game was lining up, so valiant effort, but unfortunately was thwarted here. And now Bisu, the current king of the hill, going to be taking on Light. On this map, it's a little bit weird. I mean, it's only these 12 bases besides this one base in the center here. I'm not sure if that'll ever be taken too often, but in this matchup, it can be taken as a 4th base for Terran. Yeah, with this center, I don't know, it's a little bit awkward in some regards, especially with this like low to high transitions from the 3rd base to the center and what have you, and the rally point to the center. Can be a little bit tricky pushing as Terran if Protoss are abusing these high ground slopes as you're advancing.
For sure, and the difficulty of taking the 3rd base here can't really be understated.
Yeah.
You've got high ground all the way along that pathway to your 3rd base that the Protoss can just come running down to try and break your lines, and I think that's okay for the current meta. It would be very hard to play this map if you're trying to play, say, 2 years ago, Terran versus Protoss.
Oh, that's for sure.
With the prevalence of like up mech and just constant upgrading.
Yeah.
It would be really, really hard to play on this map, but we might be able to see, some 6 factory play, some, really low econ, low upgrade style from Light to just get in there and deal some damage to put the pressure on Bisu, while maybe trying to take that 3rd base behind the push. I think that's probably the best way forward here, and that's probably what we'll end up seeing from Light.
Maybe it's going to be a bunker expand to start things off with. Range just started for Bisu. There's a possibility here that he may cancel this range to squeeze out the Nexus a little bit quicker. We'll have to wait and see. But he hasn't elected to probe scout or anything, so he may not even get a chance to cancel that. And it looks like He's thinking about maybe trying to block a Nexus that can't even be made yet. If he didn't have the range, he could have placed down the Nexus, which is why he tried to go for this block here. But because Bisu took the range, he hasn't even got the minerals quite yet anyway. So this works out a little bit favorably for Bisu because he kind of wastes a tiny bit of Light's minerals here for no fruit. But yeah, going to be getting this sort of like pretty quick Nexus as a follow-up, but if Light doesn't really have to pay much of a tax here and doesn't really get punished for doing this, I can't help but feel there's a slight Terran advantage.
Well, there's still a lot of play here. First, the bunker comes down, factory in the main. Will he follow up with a starport? What kind of aggression are we going to see out of Light? Because he is well known for this kind of drop style.
Right. I'm not too sure if it works as well with these positions. I have a feeling, I don't know, I'm just getting a feeling in my gut that he won't go for it in these positions. In my mind, my star senses are tingling and they're telling me that Bisu would easily thwart the Vulture drop attempt if it was attempted. We're going to be catching this SUV. It's a nice little pickup here from Bisu. Any denied vision is pretty good early on. It is really good if you can get into the main base with an SUV to confirm what's going on. It's very rare to do that because it's kind of like Protoss 101 to never let a Vulture get into a ramp early game, so you would kind of expect them to also do the same with an SUV at this phase. But sometimes you do get the SUV in and get a bit of a free scout, and because you don't really have an early scan in this matchup, it can be very valuable to get that. But now I'm going to be playing a little bit of tax to the Protoss player for going for this bunker expand, which is to be expected.
Yeah, he has to pay that tax, and he also has to prepare for everything here. So the catch-all from Light going to be that eBay. He should be getting mines pretty soon as well. First couple of tanks going to start to pop out. And he'll be preparing for DTs, Reaver. He has no idea what's coming here. He'll have to make sure that he's got a little bit of a turret ring. Good news is that it's not too hard to make that turret ring on this map. It's not like Dominator or anything like that, where there's plenty of surface area. There's a very minimal surface area in this main base on Deja Vu. The natural can be covered by like 1 to 2 turrets. The main like 2 to 3, and you're going to be pretty well off. You're going to be in a pretty good spot. I like hiding underneath the barracks here with that tank. He's putting it under the barracks, pushing forward, and it makes it very hard for Bisu to actually target that if he wants to try and dive. He's got 4 Dragoons, but it's a little bit of a risk if he wants to try and get on that, because a misclick could cost him a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the things I would like to see Terrans abuse more against the early pressure or Protoss. It's a very old school thing to do, but you don't actually see pros utilize it nearly as much anymore. I love to see it. Do you think... I actually agree with the fact that Light in this game is playing a very cookie cutter style and isn't trying to do anything fancy like a Vulture drop or anything. I think this was like 100% the right choice from Light here in this game.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, we've got some scouts over on that right-hand side. I kind of like it when you can go directly to the natural. For the Protoss player, like, you could fly straight through, drop 2 Vultures in the natural, and then drop 2 in the main. But yeah, we do have a scout over there on the center right. I'm not sure exactly what that is. It might be a pylon, just for confirming anything flying through, or yeah, just seeing when that third base might be coming down. Light actually getting in here with some Vultures now. Checking things out and, you know, laying down some mines, kind of causing some panic for Bisu, and at the same time he's pushing across the map with a pretty strong attack. That's quite a few Marines in the front, only 4 right now, but a lot of Vultures here rallying forward. The mines are being placed very nicely, and the high ground will be captured. Does he have siege mode finished? He's just kind of pushing in. He runs into the natural. This is getting really bad for Bisu. Oh boy, but he might lose quite a few tanks on the retreat. I don't see any mines behind this to actually help with the escape of these tanks, and Bisu might be able to track these down. He didn't get a lot of damage in the natural either, so if he loses any of these tanks, it's going to be super painful. Let's see if he can get any.
I have a feeling you might get at least one tank here, maybe two. I think Light's realized that, and he's going to have to try and like bite the bullet and just take the trade here. Yeah, look, two tanks are going to be falling, which was a little bit to be expected. Now Bisu has a bit of a counterattack opportunity here, trying to pin down this one tank. It can't retreat to the safety of its natural expansion, trying to instead buy time for defenses, but it looks like Bisu's going to be just ignoring the tank with all but 2 Dragoons and instead try and go for a bit of a pressure at the front here. There's not actually any tank to defend, and there's nothing in the bunker. This is crazy. He might even just break through and kill him right now. He might try to be okay if he can sit these 2 tanks sieged up on the high ground, but there's a bit of luck factor here. Maybe Bisu can get some good trades. He's going to try and run up the ramp. The SCV drill's coming in. 2 SCVs break off to block off 2 of the Dragoons, but the other 2 make it on top of the tanks, so both of those tanks are going to fall. The SCVs will probably do a reasonable job of cleaning up a couple of these Dragoons, but it's very annoying right now for Light to stabilize against this. A little bit of a critical damage being done to the Terran player in the mid-game phase. Meanwhile, Bisu happily churning away on 3 bases and going to be transitioning into a bit of Reaver tech to further add insult to injury and have more slowdown potential, making it even more harder for Light to take his third.
Oh, this is such a sick trade for Bisu. He's killed so many tanks here, and even though he's losing all of these Dragoons, he is able to produce so many more Dragoons than Light is able to produce tanks. He's only got 2 add-ons. That's really all he can afford. And Bisu's now with 3 bases. He's probably going to take a 4th. And there's really no way for Light to push anytime soon. So he could just go ahead and take as much of the map as he wants. This was a serious overextension in that attack from Light. I thought he had a pretty reasonable chance of taking a good trade once he split those 2 groups of Dragoons apart and started to clean them up. But he didn't retreat fast enough with the tanks, and he didn't have mines to retreat to,
right?
Which was the major problem. He kind of gambled all his mines on dealing some damage and throwing them down right in the face of the Dragoons rather than setting them up preemptively to try and retreat to. This is not going to work out too well for Bisu, but man, did that first attack work well. He is in such a good position. Light is like just completely choked.
Yeah,
there's hardly any way to break this man now. It's going to be such an uphill battle if he manages to win this game.
Oh, absolutely. We got an on-curve fourth base being taken at 10 minutes, and it's going to be this top left quadrant here. He can, if he wants to, he can set up some gateways to make that even harder for Light to assault later on, but that might even come into play. It might just be Bisu able to delay this third and eventually steamrolling the game without any challenge. This 4th base able to be levied. It looks like there's going to be a bit of a gambit from Light. He's going to try and like churn out on 6 factories, see if he can get something going, see if he can get a push going here. Slowly shuffling his way up to this ridge line. Maybe he wants to use this 6 fact to try and push so that he can also take this 3rd base and slowly turn this game around. It's going to be an uphill battle, like you say. I'm not really liking his chances, but I guess if anyone can do it, someone like Light could maybe eventually turn this game around, but it's looking bleak at the moment.
Bisu is just playing so well. Cleaning up that first attack with just pure Dragoon, hardly any tools for him available to make that hold possible, but now he's got Reavers, he's got Zealots, he's got drops. I mean, everything is in his favor right now. 40 supply advantage. Bisu is set up, he's ready for this attack, and the 6 factory that I anticipated is going to come across the map. It's just way later and with way less tanks than it should have.
Right. Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of pressure to the back line here. A small contingency of Protoss cutting off rallied reinforcements while he's trying to use what he's got left to dive bomb onto the tank line with some Zealots. Not the best of bombs, though. This is probably one of the best case scenarios for Light thus far in this trade. It's just that also... Oh, he's actually done a pretty good job of cleaning up these units that were sent to intercept reinforcements. So, all things considered, not the most worst case scenario for Light, but he is still being whittled down to a nub just by the sheer mass of Bisu right now. And eventually this tank line will be overrun with the utility of the shuttles and Reavers, and even getting some good mine drags on the final few units that are out on the field right now. It's not looking super great, although the supplies do tell a little bit of a different story. A very small gap right now of just like 15 or 18 supply while Light is taking this 3rd base. Maybe it's going to be a little bit difficult for Bisu to field an army large enough to challenge this 3rd base now, and it looks like there's going to be a very forward position set up from Light, wanting to control this little choke point leading between the bases rather than setting up back at home, trying to keep as far forward as possible, and even some vultures pressuring this top left to shut down the fourth base coming up is actually a bit of a big win here for Light. It adds a lot of depth to this game. Now that this fourth base is not going to be coming online, Weemar taking this third, maybe things can turn around for Light here. It's just going to be still a bit of a slog because, as we can see, the supplies now really do start to show that 40 supply gap once again. So even though there's not going to be a massive power of economy here for Bisu, he's still going to be able to put a lot of pressure on, already delaying this third and being really annoying here for Light.
Yeah, that attack went about as well as you could possibly imagine for Light.
Right.
Everything kind of went wrong for Bisu. Like the kills with the Goliath were fantastic. Just sniping those shuttles as they were coming in, and Bisu's not in as good of a position as he was before, but that was basically all that Light could hope for. He couldn't hope to win the game with that push. There's just way too much mass, but the trade was reasonable enough that the game gets to continue on. And with this third base coming online and the delays, the heavy delays to the fourth of Bisu, it's still not a great position for Light, but it's absolutely playable. That engagement on the high ground, this map really playing a big factor. Now, Bisu's going to try and push down this peninsula, this high ground, dropping on top of these tanks, doing a really good job with the Zealots. There's still so many units here to deal with. There's a lot of vultures mixed in. And if he targets correctly on the Dragoons, there's really not many of them left. So I think that in the end, Light will be able to push this back. But that was, again, a full reset of all the tanks of Light's army. He's still got some vultures left, which he can push forward with and maybe lay some mines, maybe challenge this rally point. There are the Templar, though, now. Bisu is continuing to grow, and he's continuing to get more tank out here as well. If he could snipe these Templar, it would be a really big exchange, but he's actually going to go for a drop over towards the 12 o'clock, and there's only one cannon there, plus the pylon wall. He could deal a lot of damage in this position. Oh, and there's the Templar. This is the big move right here. Killing off these Templar is insane. 3 Templar go down, 4 Templar just fall. Dropping some of these Dragoons over here to try and save the probes. He is going to be able to clean this up. This is a really good heads-up play from Bisu, but he just lost a massive part of his advantage.
Yeah, a lot of utility just went down the drain right now, and those storms may have been critical in the coming phases. Vulture's still applying pressure. Now the wave of Dragoons came out. He almost caught his pants down there with the Zealot and Templar round of units coming out, and just pure Vulture left on the field, able to take advantage of that small window. One thing to be said for Bisu is that Light's going to be stuck on 1-1 upgrades for another minute or two, so the upgrades for Terran are going to be a little bit behind schedule this game, so maybe Bisu can keep trading well as the time goes on, but being denied mining at this third base so long and had that much damage done to the amount of high Templars he's got and stuff is honestly almost enough damage to really bring Light back into this game, especially with that fourth base being delayed about 2 or 3 minutes.
These delays are so massive. A fourth base coming up for Light, just slowing down this economy at all, and still slowing down the top left-hand corner. It's just now getting mining with a few probes. It's crazy how much Light has done with so little. Oh, he's managed to bring this one back, and Bisu's, I mean, he's going to be kicking himself if he loses this game.
You'd think so, yeah. I mean, I'm sure someone like Best maybe would have found a way of just bowling Light over by now, but Bisu, even though he was looking pretty strong, not quite able to do what he wanted there and wasn't quite able to execute and get the job done. And now it looks like Light kind of unhindered can just grow like wildfire, already going up to 4 bases against the 4 bases of Bisu is kind of crazy. You can't fight this as Protoss. It's not sustainable. You always want to be 1 base ahead of the Terran, and sometimes even when you're 2 bases ahead of the Terran, it's not like you're just going to win the game for free. Pretty good attempt at a storm drop here, but one of the high Templars dies to a mine, so only 1 storm going to be able to activate, and that means only like just a few kills there, so not really getting the kind of damage done to Light that is required to kind of reset the flow of the game. So right now, Light definitely in a bit of a commanding position, I would say.
We talked earlier about the difficulties in the early game for Terran on this map, but as things go later, I really do feel like it's more of a Terran-favored situation here on Deja Vu. Yeah, you have this huge high ground ring. As you spread out around the map, there's so many different areas that you can hold with tanks. It's very hard to break up these high grounds. The the positions get as the positions get well established, you can just hold this high ground on the left-hand side, and you can kind of secure all 3 bases on the left. There's not a lot of pathways to kind of counterattack as Bisu. He just needs to stretch out over to this location right on screen, and he will start to do that now, sending tanks that direction. He's going to try and hold this 4th base. Bisu really needs to break this now if he wants to swing the advantage back in his favor, but I don't think he'll be able to with all these tanks on the far side. How are you going to be able to break that position?
Yeah,
That's just a crazy difficult spot to get into.
Yeah, you need like 3 or 4 shuttles dropping zealots on the back line of tanks to have any kind of hope of coming down into that bridge area and actually securing a bust. And look at this, another slowdown coming in here, just being super annoying all game long is light, and that's exactly what you have to be doing to come back into the game. You don't want to be the one that's on the receiving end. You want to be the one that's causing problems for your opponent to worry about, which gives you room to breathe. You want to grow while applying pressure. And now look at this, the Bisu's army naturally just came up here, even though it was even unable to get up into that high ground area to defend. Now that's giving a lot more oxygen here for the Terran to start circulating, and he's going to be coming into this center pocket. Like I thought he might be taking a base at this center at some point. It's a very a good move for Terran players. If you don't want to like overextend and like play too wide, like taking these center bases like on Retro and what have you can be a great opportunity. And he's taking it as his 5th rather than his 4th, so he's still got a lot of gas in the bank to work with. So he's setting himself up here for an absolute powerhouse economy. Meanwhile, Bisu's been slowed down this game. Now finally the upgrades of Terran starting to come online. The 2-1 is finished, the 3-2 is probably on its way, but it's gonna be some time for that finishes. So right now Bisu can get some okay trading, but Terrans will outscale the Protoss inevitably.
Gonna have to rely heavily on these storms. He's got plenty of Templar in those dropships. Goliath snipes are going to be incredibly valuable at this point in the game. He's going to run forward with some vultures, just try to pick off a Templar or 2. Does a good job of that. And he's slowly pushing into this high ground right above the natural. We don't have a lot of gateways in the top left, although those are being added on now. It's going to take a little bit of time before we can establish that secondary rally point, and Light is getting closer and closer to the natural. He's secured this high ground position, which we saw Bisu take a bad trade in earlier. That location very hard to break through, and Bisu is getting chopped up. Another Templar goes down. This is such a tight little corridor to try and push through. Zealots are getting caught behind a lot of this. He's focusing on putting down the best storms possible. These are amazing storms, though. A lot of the vultures get ripped up, and now the Zealots can go to town. Jumping on top of this from multiple angles. Is this the attack that Bisu needs? He's bringing out the probes here as well. During the middle of this fight, he's going to transfer the probes through, because even if he loses the fight, he'll at least have those probes in a new location where they can actually mine from. I guess Light will hold, and he's going to push back in this position while Bisu goes to mine in the top left.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think there's just not quite enough for Bisu. It's a great effort from him, but the tank line was just so deep, it went on forever, and even though Bisu did a great job of storming and coming in there with the shuttles, wasn't quite able to overcome the odds, and now with a pretty big supply lead, putting the pressure on, and without a strong rally point in the top left yet set up, it's going to be hard for Bisu to counter. GG finally called, and now like, it's looking like there's going to be a bit of an even spread here between all 3 teams. Like, people are like dropping like flies left and right. I don't really know which way this week's going to go, Sam.
Okay. Just change this.
Wow, man. It kind of feels like that map like baits Protoss into playing a certain way, and it kind of simplifies things for Terran if that happens. Like, weirdly, Bisu played into Light's hands a little bit. Like, I feel like if Bisu was just greedier and just took that 4th on the low ground or something a little bit quicker, or just did something to keep the engine going, rather than like being like, yeah, I'm just gonna bust this guy and kill him taking a 3rd, you know?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. Let's talk about it in the game here. Hold on. All right, with Bisu eliminated, Action will be sent out here to face off against Light next. Pantheon is the map, Action bottom left, Light top left. But man, that previous game was really opening our eyes to the difficulties of playing Protoss on that map. Hey, like there's some difficulties for sure for Terran in the early game, but the way that the path, the ring around the middle has walls on some of the sides, it makes like interesting corridors that are difficult to maneuver your army through, and Light took very good advantage of that. Bisu took a lot of bad fights. I feel like he hasn't really maybe practiced on that map enough yet.
Yeah, maybe. It also seemed like he was really trying so hard to commit to preventing the third base from Light, and really delayed his fourth base that game, unfortunately. Seems like that map may be baiting Protoss players into trying to take advantage of the issues for Terran, so much so that they kind of like push themselves into a bit of a tunnel vision, and that can kind of come back to bite them. And I think maybe they need to think of a little bit of a clever way of transitioning on that map to slow down the Terran while also still being a bit greedy behind that, because I feel like Terran can just run amok if you allow them to establish too much map control.
I think I just said the wrong map here for this one. I think I said Pantheon. It's actually Radion.
It's Radion.
Actually going to go ahead and grab his 12 hatchery and right into a spawning pool and gas afterwards. This is looking like the most normal opener we've had.
Yeah.
Got a very clear pathway forward here in this TVZ. And I don't expect anything less from Light versus Action. Both these players are incredibly good late game. Very strong macro players, and if there was some sort of cheese early game here, the only thing I could expect would be like an 8 Rex out of Light. He's been known to do that, but Action is just a very solid macro player, although quite aggressive at times. He is more leaning towards that sort of economic opener.
Well, his main strength is that he's able to apply a lot of pressure while still macroing like a god behind the pressure. So he's aggressive, but he's mainly focusing on his economy behind the aggression still. So he's still just going to be prioritizing the churning out of drones and units, but with enough skill of his task switching to still micro well and apply pressure and kind of make you feel uncomfortable. And it can be hard to play against a good Zerg like that. Although Light, inversely, has a bit of a strange style. He's the kind of guy to cut SCVs earlier on and go for a slightly lower economy approach to the standard game, just so he can squeeze out a little bit of extra juice and go for slightly stronger timings. And TVZ is all about timings, and sometimes the windows to exploit the Zerg player in the points of transitional weakness come down to like 3-second windows. So sometimes having that tiny little bit of extra oomph does really help out, and someone like Light knows how to take full advantage of that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we don't get to see SCV numbers, worker numbers, because this is a live recording of the game. So we won't be able to tell that exactly, but I know exactly what you're talking about. 35 is when Light tends to stop SCV production, and that's like the perfect number to just macro out an insane army to really get your unit flow going, and on 2 bases put an insane amount of pressure onto Zerg, so that we might see that here, although we won't be able to tell exactly how many workers there are.
Yeah, he does like pretty much do that almost every game. It's not like he does that some of the time. It's a very, very likely trend here. And usually you'll see Terran players also try and skimp out on making the second comsat right away. So you'll see like one comsat made, then the second one a little bit later on. Because each time you make a comsat, you're prevented from making 2 SCVs for each comsat you make. So 2 comsats, 4 SCVs. So if you do want to cut SCVs later, sometimes can be even more optimized to delay when you make that second comsat. So always be careful not to lose this medic. Needs to pay attention. A lot of damage being dealt to that medic already. There's only 1 medic, so any damage you do to that medic is permanent for the time being, so he needs to be very careful here as he navigates. Someone like Action's really on top of things. Like if you blink for a few times, he'll find a way of taking advantage of that. So Light needs to keep his eyes just wide open at all times while he's looking for a third base that doesn't exist right now. I don't think he has any idea this is a 2.5 hatch. He's expecting Action to take the bottom right natural and maybe go for like a crazy Zerg style or something, but Action's actually playing very solid 2-base style, going to be taking a very late third here.
It's got the 2.5 hatchery, and you can see that there's only one comsat for Light, so he is saving some scan.
Yeah.
And because of that, he got kind of tricked. He thought that there was another base down in the bottom right. Didn't have scan to try and find out about that. He sends his whole army down there. He's not going to lose the army or anything, but he wasn't able to put on the big pressure that he wanted to in the natural. Still forced out 2 sunken colonies. Action immediately in the evolution chamber. This is going to be some sort of ultra rush.
Yeah, I saw that building morphing and I was like starting to get a bit excited. I was thinking to myself, is that an evolution chamber? I really wanted the observer to click on it. I knew it probably wouldn't be a Hydra Den at this early on in the game as a transition as well, so I was pretty sure about it. And yeah, it looks like we're going to be seeing some very fast carapace upgrades to try and keep on curve with the Terran and get some windows of advantage, maybe to exploit later, not only with the Mutaling cleanups, but also with maybe Ultralisks coming out. And he is going to be now trying to set up this base in the bottom right in the natural. There was a fire back there to try and get the drone, but 2 Lings made short work of that. And now I think he's going to be wanting to expand soon. I think the drone's just now being sent out to take this third base.
7 mutas coming into the natural can one-shot those SCVs, but more pressing issue here is this Marine Medic force heading across the map right now. He's got to bring those mutas to bear to help out with these 3 sunken colonies in their defense. Action pulling the mutas over here to the side. He's got 2 more sunken colonies on the way, which should be enough for sure to hold off Light. Light should just turn around when he sees that number of sunken colonies and the mutas are present as well. It would be suicide to dive into that, but now he's got a containment in the front of this base, and there's no hatchery out on the map anywhere here for Action.
Yeah, he was sending the drone out, and as soon as this push was coming across the map, he sent the drone home. So now, there's no way of securing the third base right now. He's instead going to be trying to counterattack, seeing if he can open up this pocket of turrets. Both turrets may be going down. It's a great repair attempt from Light. He buys a little bit of time, but eventually both turrets do go down, although bought enough time for some Marines to get up here. Although we can start to exploit this location a little bit now that those turrets are dead. This is not a strong enough Marine force to keep these mutas at bay for long. So it looks like Light will be retreating back home to come and deal with this, and that should open up the map for Action to think about expanding, although he's probably feeling a little bit wary about it still. He knows Light's style is to cut SCVs, and he'll have a strong presence of bio, although with only this amount of barracks, maybe there's something that can be done here for Action. I think he should be able to expand. I just think he's very wary about it.
Spending all his money right now to get into this Ultraless transition, but 2-base Ultra, it has its limitations. Yeah. There's really not that much you can do with such a little amount of gas. You really can't afford all the upgrades and a bunch of Ultras for that timing, and he will send a drone down to bottom right. Let's see if he's able to hold this base, because Light is getting close to his transition into Science Vessel, and if Action can't keep the pressure on with these mutas because the Science Vessel is out, how is he going to be able to hold the base in bottom right? Now he comes in, he kills the 1 turret here in the main base, and he's really opened up the position now. He's killed quite a few SCVs so far, and he's still got quite a bit of mutalist presence in this base, killing off even more and more Marines. This is going very well for Action. The distinct lack of turrets in this main base is hurting Light a lot. Only 2 more Marines, they both go down. Now he's got free reign over the SCVs. It's going to have to be a pull. Light is starting to fall apart here with this much pressure.
And there's only 1 starport, so there's not a lot of irradiates going to be available to Light soon either, which would kind of flip the script a tiny bit here on Action. Action's done a great job of putting a lot of pressure on Light this game in ways which have which has slowed himself down, but also very much crippled Light. Now currently even on supply, which is indicative of a pretty strong position in this game. Lots of bio in position now to prevent this, but it looks like we're going to see a dive into the naturals. Only 4 Marines here, not even a bunker, so the Lings can start to go to work on the turrets, open up the position maybe for the Mutas to exploit. There is now a Science Vessel, will be one Irradiate available to leverage soon, but with some good splitting that will be mitigated. The Mutas currently dancing around in the pocket of the main base, trying to get more and more economic damage. He's trying to target a supply depot. It's a bit of a mistake there, because he's going to take a little bit of extra damage onto that flock of Mutas on the exit, but still the damage has been pretty decent this game, although Light is starting to stabilize now, creeping ahead by about 15 or so supply. The third base for Action is just so late, is maybe there's a window here for Light to stabilize and get things going again, but with the chitinous upgraded Ultralisks coming onto the field, it will be very difficult for Light to have a large enough biove ball to actually gun down the Ultras in time. So I'm a little bit worried for Light in the coming phases of the game. Maybe Action will be able to stash up enough gas to, have like 3 or 4 Ultras just suddenly barrel in at the critical timing. And with Nidus Canals set up as well, it looks like this third base will be relatively unchallenged.
Action's done a fantastic job here of holding Light back, keeping him in his base, and shaving off a lot of the economy, which is already, as we talked about earlier, pretty low for Light in this matchup. He doesn't produce a lot of SCVs, and he's having to reproduce SCVs right now to get back up to that 35 number. He's not anywhere near a third base right now, and I don't think he's going to be able to shut down this third of Action. So we are going to have that Ultralist transition. Just how strong is it going to be, though? With only 400 gas in the bank,
yeah,
Action's not going to be able to produce too many Ultras. He's got 3 out now. He's got the chitinous plating on the way, I imagine, but will he wait for speed and +2 armor to finish as well? I feel like you kind of have to. With this low number of Ultra, you need to have just as much oomph with this army as possible.
Yeah, it depends on how Light's playing. If Light's just turtling on 2 bases like he is right now, you want to wait for full upgrades. If Light was trying to be a little bit more aggressive, then you would probably just wait for chitinous plating and go. At this stage, it's looking like Light does want to do a timing push here. We may see an engagement out on the center of the map. And like I was saying earlier, I'm a little bit worried that Light won't have enough juice in this force to gun down the Ultras quick enough. He's trying to get a little tactical snipe on this Overlord, which does give Action an opportunity. If he wants to, he can kind of try and cut this force into 2 and get a tactical wedge on it, but it looks like he doesn't want to go for a play like that. Just wants to kind of consolidate his position, squeeze out as much gas as possible. Now that his third gas is finally online, it does give another 300 a minute. So, 2 minutes pass, that's another 3 Ultras that he's able to produce. So if he just waits a little bit longer, it's going to be that much harder for Light to come out and take a third base or put any pressure on. Muta's going to town yet again, still getting value even though there's a Radiates out on the field. The vessel that was in position doesn't have enough energy to cast anything, so it's a little bit frustrating here for Light. He's now finally got a force that's looking like it's big enough to gun down Ultras. I'm not too sure that he's going to be able to force a fight anytime soon, though. There's also a Nidus Canal set up. He might be able to get a cancel on this 4th base coming up in the top right, but that's not actually an optimal target to choose right now. He wants to go for either the 3rd base or just try and set up a container right now. Looks like he's electing toward the 3rd base.
Yeah, it's kind of a hidden base there in the top right. Action, hoping that won't be scouted. Light is going around it, though. He's heading down to the bottom right-hand corner. Light, is he going to be able to kill this? It really looks like Action is giving it up. He's just going to let that go down and go for the counterattack.
Yeah.
Kind of a crazy move here from Action. Going to give up a lot of drones with this. And Light throws down the eBay, or no, he throws down the science facility in the wall, blocking the Ultras really, really well. Such a nice tactical maneuver from Light, keeping these Ultras out for some time, but now they're up inside the main base, and they're going to work on the production. This is getting a little bit scary. The army is going to come on back home, and here comes those vessels, but they're going to get sniped down immediately. Ooh. Unfortunately, they did manage to cast all of their spells, but getting all of those kills on the science vessels is really, really great for Action here. He just can't get on top of these Marines, though. They're in between the barracks, and that setup is exactly meant for this situation. All of the barracks right next to each other are not going to allow the Ultras to get on top of that. He's going to go after the eBay, targeting down 1. So many SCVs fall, though, in the main base. A lot of SCVs going down in the natural as well. This is just eviscerating the economy of light. And even though there's no third base for action, I mean, this is maybe enough damage on the Terran side of things that even just pumping 2 gas ultra will be enough to win this game.
Yeah, he's actually saved the hatchery in the bottom right, crazily.
No
and
way.
has this 4th gas to start mining once he can get around to making some drones there as well. So, yeah, he's going to be firing on all cylinders, just throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks right now, trying to keep Light at bay. There will be a small window where Light has a pretty strong critical mass of Marines relative to the amount of forces of Zerg. Though he can come out onto the map right here, right now, try and put a lot of pressure on and see if he can get a kill move with the army that he's got currently fielded. It is a pretty large army, 2/2 upgrades, hasn't got that +3 yet. With the E-base sniped, it means he has no longevity in this game. He has to win pretty much right here, right now. The longer this game goes on, the worse it becomes for Light, with the upgrade being delayed and sniped. So he's kind of banking on just winning the game with the forces he can muster right now. He's going to be able to get some irradiates down on these ultras before the trade actually comes down. It's not too bad. He can gun these down. If he can avoid any losses to these Scourge as well, it's looking pretty good for Light. Action might try and do a bit of a slowdown with a run by with these 2 irradiated ultras. Looks like Light is gonna not try and go back and deal with that, though. He's just gonna try and get between these barracks like before and just keep the onslaught going. There's 7 Sunkens here, so it will be a little bit difficult to break through if there's anything supporting, but if there's not that many units with 2/2 upgrades, those Marines will make short work of those Sunkens.
Yeah, the addition of those extra sunken colonies, so smart by Action, but is it going to be enough? 2 more coming up. I think with these 9 Sunkens, that actually will represent like a difficult enough barrier for Light to try and get through that he's not going to be able to break this. I like it, just putting some ultras in the front and putting them on hold position. They buy so much time for the Sunkens to deal their damage, and as soon as he pulls the trigger on that, the ultras are going to come forward. A lot of Scourge come out as well. This is just making such a problem for Light. More ultras coming up here, just dealing that damage. I don't think he can break through here, and as soon as he gets denied, Action is going to win this game. Beautifully done here by Action, just tactically so sound, such good decision making. You can see how strong he is with this style, the crazy Zerg style. The Ultralisk Rush was done perfectly here. I think only Action could really pull it off like this against Light.
Absolutely, saying like he's one of the best in the business at executing crazy Zerg, and he understands it on a fundamental level better than the average Zerg, even at the highest of echelons of play. GG finally called from Light, and yeah, we're seeing a 3-way split. 1 player from each team taken out, saying I have no idea where this week is going to take us, but I'm excited for it.
Okay. Oh, not that.
Oh, really tactical game, man.
Yeah. It's a very hard decision to just sack your 3rd, but it turned out to be the right one.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Zerg players would just throw their whole army into the Terran and be like, okay, I have to save my 3rd. Here we go.
No.
But yeah.
James just said in the chat, ugh, hidden base. But 2 things I want to point out to you, James. 1, that hidden base was not required to win the game. And 2, you could also see that hidden base as a bait base, because if Light sends his entire army over there to challenge it, that also opens him up to a counterattack. And his army is on the northern part, the northern half of the map, so he can't like quickly counterattack if Action then counterattacks. So it's actually a really good bait base. When you're playing crazy Zerg, sometimes you want to take these like bases around the map just to force the Terran to like send army across the whole map to go and deal with them, and use that opportunity to then launch counterattacks and what have you. So sometimes those expansions aren't even like for anything other than just mining a little bit of gas, not even mining minerals, and also to bait the Terran into having to commit forces out onto the map and then be, you know, counterattacked.
It's really such a good move actually to go for the counterattack, because you can also bait the vessels into flying back across the map immediately. And you're not building a lot of Scourge, so you can't just keep throwing them in. But if you force the vessels to leave the Marine Medic Army to rush back home to save the base, you can catch them in transit.
Yeah, and
I mean, he didn't do a great job of that, but he did get a few.
Yeah, he did get a few. Yeah, James, to answer your question, he would have still made that play because his army was actually inferior to Light's in a straight up fight. Like, it's actually hard for the Ultraling to trade well against the Bioball that Light was fielding at that present time. So the counterattack actually does make more sense. And sacking the third is still a good play because there's a chance that he tries to save the third base. And if he fails, that's it. The game's completely over. Whereas if he counterattacks, it like opens up the game again. And he knows Light's kind of falling behind. He knows there's only one starport. He knows that Light's upgrades are slow. He knows that Light's economy's hurt. It just made sense in that game state.
All right.
All right.
Next up, Action versus Mighty. Dominator is our map. Action has the opportunity to all kill. He's the last player who has that option. If he takes out all 3 Terrans, he will earn that $3,400,000 or 3,400,000 won prize. Imagine $3 million.
Can you imagine?
All kill.
I think a lot of people would be quitting their jobs and just trying to play StarCraft full time if that was the case.
Yeah, there might be some heart attacks in the studio if it was that much, you know.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's life-changing money right there. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But especially if the games get really intense, StarCraft can be one of the most heart-pounding and arousing.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds wrong, but you just get so animated and shaky while playing a really intense game of StarCraft. It's like no other.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even on the ladder, if you're playing a particularly intense game, you can get those kinds of intense emotions and stimuli to your body to have to contend with. And at the highest levels of play, these pro games feel it as well, especially when there's money online, especially when the games are being televised and there's a lot at stake, not just their pride, but also, prize money and what have you. And it looks like we're going to be seeing a little bit of a slowdown, even a pylon block going down here to really frustrate or try to frustrate Action. But it looks like a lot of Ling commitment already out of Action, anticipating this potential. So he's going to be able to get the kill on this pylon pretty quickly. One thing I've noticed about Action is he's very good at navigating these early game shenanigans. His decision making and the behavior trees that he follows seems to be very solid most of the time.
Ooh, a re-pylon there to block that once again. Only 2 Lings. If you have only 2 Lings, it won't kill the pylon before it finishes. But with 3, you can knock it down. So he's actually going to kill this. He's continuing to build Lings, though. And the Lings are already arriving here on the other side of the map. He's getting a pretty decent trade to start. 3 Lings versus 1 Zealot is great. But as the Zealot retreats, he'll get a worse and worse trade in that corner. He manages to pick off 1 Ling. Action making a little bit of a mistake there. You really can't be losing Lings right now if you're going to plan to try and overwhelm Mighty in this spot. He's doing a great job so far, just blocking up these areas and keeping the Lings from dealing damage. Oh, he picks off the 1 probe, though.
That's a big
nice
deal.
Block there.
Yeah, he has no idea how many additional Lings are being made. So right now he could just make nothing but drones and not commit to this. And there'd be no way of Mighty knowing what's going on and what's the follow-up here. So 2 cannons are on the way. Gateway was dangerously low to being knocked out, but so far it looks like Mighty might be able to keep hold of that. I don't see any additional Lings being made. It looks like it's just going to be drones from now on, with a drone set out to take his 3rd base. Yeah, pretty good that Mighty's been able to navigate this early game and not take any damage here. It looks like the Lings are still trying to threaten a run by and maybe get this gateway, but there's no way with the cannon warping in now. So looks like any kind of threat is now over. We're going to be seeing a little bit of a transition to a normal game, but now the 3 Zealot move out will force a bit of a reaction out of Action here. He has to make Zerglings to deal with this. He hasn't actually identified that the Zealots have left yet. With only 1 cannon, there's a chance that the Zealots don't move out, which means the Lings can go for a run by. There was no pros pulled as well, so 5 Lings with speed are going to be getting to the main base, which could be crazy. The Zealots are actually turning around. They're not going to be committing to any kind of counterattack as well, so this is completely Action favored now that the Zealots are not only coming back to help, but are not going to be here for quite some time. Now a lot of damage already dealt to these probes. Panic cannon was made in the renewal line, which is probably the correct response considering how dire this situation was. was, you can pretty much just lose the game straight up from here, especially about the Zealots coming in to help very early on. More and more speedlings are being made to see if they can get a run by on this cannon and maybe pick that off in the natural. With only one cannon made on this wall, it's a very easy to exploit, especially with the gateway being low, and the micro of action's pretty solid. He's able to macro back at home very adeptly while still applying a lot of pressure, so I'm not sure if Mighty can keep up with the task switching right now. Action forcing a lot of interactions in this game, trying to exploit his advantage over Mighty, and his execution does get the pick off on that gateway, which is going to slow down the Zealot production by about 3 or so if he makes the gateway immediately, and if he doesn't, it's going to remove even more further Zealot production from the capabilities of Mighty, as well as slowing down his tech timings. This is a pretty significant advantage for Action despite having a low drone count.
I think Action was going around in the main base there looking for that cybernetics core, and seeing that it wasn't up yet, decided to go for the snipe on the gateway. If you can snipe the gateway when the cyber core is not done, oh, nice job getting rid of those lings. Now you can delay the Corsair timing by an insane amount. The tech is just so slow at that point if you manage to do that. But Action, I mean, he kills the gateway. He is going to slow down those Zealots, but he's not going to slow down the potential Corsair here. Mighty is slowing that down himself by just not producing that building. He is struggling here to put himself back together after so much damage has gone through from Action. And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier, Shun. How Action can just turn it on, the aggression, really, really quickly, and deal a lot of damage. Oh my god, Cybernetics Core, no Stargate. He's going to go for a Dragoon all-in, I think.
Yeah, no, this looks like it. It's going to be like, well, it's basically a 5 Dragoon all-in, 5 Gate Goon all-in, but because of the economic damage, it won't be 5 gateways. It'll be something close to that, like 3 or 4 initially, and then with the added 5th coming on later. But the Overlord's sneaking in to scout this. This is kind of crazy. He gets the full scout off. Now everything is seen. Action is so good as well that I imagine he's going to min-max the defense against this, like, extremely optimally as well. I do not like Mighty's chances in this. He does force a Dragoon out as well. It is nice to get this Dragoon, especially if you can, but he's not going to pick off the Overlord. That's so frustrating. Just 1 HP left on that Overlord. There is another Dragoon that popped out, but with the Lings here, he's a little bit hesitant to go out and hunt down this Overlord because he knows there could be a flood of Lings that just run in as he does that.
That was sick. That Overlord getting in and getting absolutely all the information that Action could ever want, and then flying out as well. So strong here. Action, I can't imagine him losing this game. He's going to force a bunch of cannons back at home by going in with these mutas, and he can just pump Lings behind this to hold these Dragoons. These Dragoons are in such a low number. There's only a few gateways here, producing 3 gateways instead of the 5. Like you mentioned earlier, just makes this such a small threat for Action to deal with, and as he shaves off more and more probes here, it's going to be even worse for Mighty. His follow-up Dragoon push is going to be slower, and it's going to be weaker, and that's all it takes for Action to win this game. He just needs to slow things down, get a critical mass of Lings and mutas, and he should be able to easily take this game home. Yeah,
when you scout this build early, you can pretty much hold it off with pure Ling muta. It's totally fine. And Dragoons trade really badly against mutas. If you made non-stop mutas against non-stop Dragoons, the mutas pretty much win every time. They're just not very great. With the explosive damage type against the small air units of the mutas, they do half damage. They do 20, they do 10, so you don't quite have the firepower required to gun down these mutas and make the trade go your way. We even see a transition coming here from Action finally into Hydras now that he's kind of secure. We may see a tiny window for Mighty to get something done, but I really doubt it. Like, he's gonna have to get really lucky, make a Templar Archives, get an Archon out, somehow trade well against the crazy amount of units that Action's going to produce. Maybe there's a way of Mighty winning this game, but it's going to be difficult against the caliber of Action, who's just so great in these kinds of situations.
Well, tell me if I'm wrong here, but usually when you want to go for a Dragoon all-in attack, you're not going to have Templar Archives, and you're actually going to try to hit a moment right before range and speed come in for Hydras when they're just not quite as strong. You can kind of battle them easily. There is going to be that timing where Hydras are not quite fully upgraded yet, and we might see Mighty come across the map, but he's delayed this so much, and he's trying to get into Archons, like you said, to deal with the mutas. I think that we're actually going to buy just barely enough time for Action to switch fully into Hydra and have all those upgrades ready.
I think so. I was just going to say that Mighty might be able to get a tactical snipe on this macro hatchery, because it's very difficult to cover that with Sunkens. Sometimes you will see Zerg players put Sunkens out in front of their Sim City and use the Sunkens as a sandbag for the Dragoon timing. Just with a couple of Sunkens having to deal with those Dragoons can really help out a lot while you're waiting for your Hydra tech to finish up. But with only the 2 cannons, this natural expansion, the Mutas got overwhelmed that very quickly, force an evacuation on those probes, now even just targeting down the Nexus, and Mighty killing his own wall to try and get some Dragoons in to do this. But as I was saying earlier, the Dragoons don't really do a lot of damage, so there's still a lot of window to maneuver around with these Mutas and maybe get some High Templar snipes and what have you. It looks like Mighty's actually not even making an Archon. It looks like he might be trying to go into Storm here even, which is a bit of a gambit. I mean, he's not going to have much potency for his army for a little while, but there might be a small window for him to exploit if he gets lucky. He's kind of banking on Action making a mistake, though, and I don't think Action's going to make the kind of mistakes that are going to be required for him to come back into this game.
Interesting decision to go for Lurker here with the really heavy commitment into Dragoon early on. Generally understood not... Yeah. The lack of Observer definitely makes it a much better play, but there is going to be that Observer being added on now. It's just Action diving to the natural was such a smart move. He's delayed things so much, and he forced all these Dragoons back once again, and he's going to force Mighty to wait for the cannons to finish once again. So the cannons finish, he's just going to fly right back in, fight the cannons, force everything back. And Action is just buying so much time for himself and killing probes every time he comes in like this.
Yeah, and every time the Zealots and Dragoons come back in to try and deal with the Mutas, they body block the Templars from even getting in range to cast the Storm. And by the time they are in range, the Mutas are already long gone. So really, really high-level execution from Action, understanding the exact timing windows, when to exploit, when to pull out. He's doing a great job of dotting his I's, crossing his T's in this game. Also taking a little ninja 4th base as well. Will be quite difficult for Mighty to identify and punish this. He looks like he's gearing up to take a 3rd base at the 9 o'clock. Looks like he wants to just try and sandbag this game and slow it down as much as he can and just try and grow from here. Maybe he can make that work if he's forcing Action to come to him, but Action's a very strong macro player. He will happily sit back, go into Defilers, and turn this into a 30-minute game if he has to, and he will do it with a lot of finesse as well.
That is such a fast Defiler mound. We're at nearly 13 minutes, and that mound is about to be done. The Consume upgrade, I imagine, will be finished before 14 minutes. And Defilers will be out in force soon after that. Lurker, Defiler, Crackling is the composition of choice, and it's absolutely the strongest composition for Zerg player. But with this attack coming into the natural right now and going after, oh my god, he's just going to go right for the Nexus. Oh, he gets it immediately. He's not even going to have to wait for Defilers to come out here. He's already done the critical damage to Mighty that he wanted to, and all these probes being Maynarded back into the main base, trying to return some precious minerals. Mighty loses a ton of those, and Nidus comes up in the bottom right as well. Action is playing this out beautifully. He's giving no chances for Mighty to come back in this game at all.
Oh, this is a masterclass in ZVP. Like, he's not taking any risks. Yeah, like there is. If he played a bit too overly aggressive, then there'd be windows to punish and Mighty to come back into this game. But he's applying a pretty nice idea there from Mighty, trying to intercept the Mutas with the Storm preemptively, not quite getting the right vector on that. And yeah, so far Action doing just even sniping the probe that was there to rebuild the Nexus. Like, everything is just going right for Action in this game, and he's forcing so many interactions for Mighty to keep up with across the board that it's just too much for Mighty to handle. Like, Mighty's a very strong, solid player, but he's not quite up to the caliber of some of these other pros that are just crazy in their ability to flick around the map. He's Action's playing over 400 actions a minute right now. He's dancing around the map like a madman, fingers just like spraying across the keys on the board like a wizard right now. It's kind of crazy how he can keep this up pretty much all game long. It's kind of wild. Even the Nexus not being built by Mighty, he's just so low on economy. He can't even afford to produce units and a Nexus right now. He's going to run out of gas in the tank here pretty soon, Sam.
This is not a battle, Shun. This is an execution action. Going in with the blade here, about to cut the throat of Mighty. Going right in with the Lings. Going to start to dive into this main base likely. Going after the Forge. Nice pick off there.
Wow.
We've only got +1 attack for Mighty and likely +2 armor going to finish off soon. He's breaking him apart piece by piece, running in at each base, killing off cannons, killing off Nexus, killing off Forges, and Mighty is just struggling to keep up with this guy. Like you said, 420 APM, very tough player to keep up with. So many interactions over and over and over again. Mighty is finally going to pull the trigger on an attack. You know, he's been delayed so much. He was planning to do this all-in, Dragoon attack very early on in the game, but it's now 15 minutes. And the Dragoons are completely irrelevant with the Plague and Darkstorm that's being thrown down here at the front.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like right now there's a crazy amount of Protoss units, but look at the supplies. There's a lot waiting in reserve. He's only utilizing the bare minimal amount of Zerg forces to just lay down some plagues and soften up the enemy target. This really is like a death by 1,000 cuts scenario. It makes me wonder if like he's got like a post-it notes folded up into a fishbowl, and like he just picks out the post-it note to decide what kind of play style he wants to go for, because he really is one of the players like Hero that can play a very diverse range of styles, and because he's so strong at his macro, it's very intimidating to play against. Looks like Mighty's though going to find another pocket to try and exploit while currently a counterattack's being executed on the 9 o'clock position. Looks like it will be overrun. Looks like most of the probes and the Nexus is going to fall here, saying this might be the death note that's been sent to Mighty right now. Looks like there's going to be a counterattack though from Mighty trying to bust this natural once and for all. There's 5 Sunkens, a Nidus Canal set up, but all these lurkers coming in from behind. It's a pretty good storm, but I don't think there's enough storm left over in reserve to keep this going, and now those units that killed the 9 o'clock going to be coming in reserve to come help do cleanup on aisle 5 here.
Yeah, those Dragoons are pretty decent at fighting against the Sunken Colonies, but they die so quick after they've been plagued. A lot of them end up going down to those 5 Sunkens, and the cleanup is easy at the end of that game. Oh my gosh. Action beautifully done there, playing a really interesting style that completely countered everything that Mighty tried to do in that game.
Yeah, that was an impressive showing from Action, huh?
Absolutely.
Whew. I mean, I've got a soft spot in my heart from Action, and it's hard not to get giddy when I see him perform like that, because I know he's got it in him, and when he does like fire on all cylinders, he's an absolute monster. He's very adept on the fundamental level. Like, you'll see him do things with very few units that most Zerg players wouldn't feel confident doing. Like, he really does like to walk the tightrope. So he's able to have a greedy macro style behind a very aggressive, well-executed Zerg force. And it's very difficult to fight against a Zerg like that. He's very confident in defending with the absolute minimum. He almost never overcommits into his defenses. Almost never.
Yeah, even in that last fight, he didn't have too much there. The 5 Sunkens was the perfect amount.
He's got such a good read on the game state almost always.
Rush, the next Terran sent out here to take on Action, and Action's well on his way towards an all-kill in this week. It's been a while since we've had an all-kill. I actually thought the Shine got the all-kill in the was it the semifinal? It really felt like he deserved it. I mean, he got all 4 kills. Something went wrong, though. I'm not sure what it was, if our translation is off. according to the translation we've got for the all kill rules, that definitely should have been one. So we're a little bit confused at this point as to what actually constitutes an all kill. So sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, I guess they're saying it also includes the revive, which we didn't assume that was the case. So I guess in the semifinals and finals, it's kind of even crazier to get an all kill, right?
Yeah. Yeah, again, according to the translation we've got, it's just 4 kills in a row in semifinals. So I really don't know when they, I guess, changed that. Maybe they made a recent change to those all kill rules. I'm pretty good at keeping up with the announcements from KCM and to what's being changed and what's happening, and when the dates are being delayed or whatever and what have you. But that kind of slipped by me. I think that the all kill rules are the same though for the regular season. So as long as Action manages to take out Rush here, he'll have to go up against Mini. If he takes out Mini, then he takes out Sharp. He will get that all kill prize. It's just a matter of getting through these last 3 insanely strong players. It would be quite the feat here from Action.
I mean, I guess it does kind of make sense that you have to kill the revive as well, because you think about it, you do have to essentially kill 5 players to get an all kill, because you're rotating between 2 squads. So I imagine I suppose it does make sense having to get all 5 in a semi-final format. Does
right,
kind
to
of
make it
sense.
a little easier, or a little more. Yeah, it would be a bit too easy maybe in the semifinals, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Is in comparison to a regular... Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, in hindsight, it actually does make sense.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into this game here. Rush has opened with a 1 Rax expansion. He's gone into a very quick eBay, so he'll be sitting behind this wall, just kind of chilling, waiting for that power spike with the +1. Range and stim all lining up here at the end. It leaves a little bit of room for some abuse from the Zerg player, but you're going to have a way stronger mid game. And as long as you have the turrets on time and you've got your Marines in the right positions as the mutas fly in, it should be fine. And Rush is absolutely capable of that. He's adept with that. He's managed to pull off this type of build before, so no reason to think that Action will be able to get in there and deal any significant damage this time.
Yeah, I think one of the weird reasons this build is actually quite good is that one of the things that's good against it is 2-hatched Lurker can punish this a little bit, and you don't really see 2-hatched Lurker almost ever, unless it's some crazy cheesy Zerg on the ladder or something. So I feel like, yeah, you usually don't see Zergs go for styles that are able to punish this too effectively, unless it's like some kind of very early Ling timing or something. But usually with a wall in like this, it's very difficult for the Zerg to punish. So I imagine most of the time this is probably the build of preference for most Terrans if they are able to get like a secure wall in, what have you.
I think one of the hidden strengths of this build that a lot of people don't talk about is actually the timing of the +1 armor that comes out for the Terran player. Right. You can get that armor right as the Lurkers are coming out, and then it makes it harder for the Lurkers to fight Marines. It takes 3 shots instead of 2, and you can actually bust through a lot of different positions that would otherwise be impossible to get through with that extra little bit of armor helping the Marines to smash those positions. So that's like something that I haven't really heard anyone else talk about, but it might be the reason why this build has come into such prominence.
I also think that with 2 racks, it allows you to kill the 3rd base on location before the mutas can save it sometimes, but it's very difficult to locate where the 3rd base is. So even if you do go for 2 racks, it can be hard to shut down this kind of style from Action where you see the on-base location 3rd as well. So does kind of make sense that this build is the preferred one out of the 2. It does line you up way better for that mid game, I would say, with the caveat of not having as much pressure in the early game to do to the Zerg. But maybe on the ladder you'd want to go for a 2 racks academy if you're not as confident. But yeah, I feel like this maybe is overall the superior cookie cutter out of those two options. Now we see the Mutas making their way into the main base. Well, a lot of turrets already made in the main base. It's going to be difficult to exploit. There is a little bit of a pocket where the eBay is to kind of shave away at some of the SCVs, but that means the Mutas are also trapped in here. They will take damage on the exit. Looks like now Rush wants to just put a lot of pressure on, push out onto the map, make sure that there's no greed here, make sure that there's a lot of Sunkens being made behind these Mutas as well. And he's thinking about where this third base is. He scans the 9, he scans the natural in the top left, and he's not able to find this 12 o'clock base. Very interesting choice from Action here. I don't imagine he will scout that until one of the later options out of all the bases he will check.
I love the one Marine just walking off on his own up to the top left-hand corner to just check things out. Yeah. He used his 2 scans on the center left and the top left, the natural. And as soon as he sees this base, I feel like this is a brilliant play from Action, actually, because he showed in that last game versus Light that he was willing to not play, to play just like 2 base and go right into Hive. That Rush might actually be thinking that's exactly what he's going up against here.
Yeah.
And without the ability to scout, he could just assume that, and this will just go completely unscouted. He won't know about this. Action's going to be in a great spot.
Yeah, and Action's... There is a Marine that's stimming out. He's trying to dash into the top right corner now to check for a third base. He's going to be scratching his head when he sees that there's nothing up here as well. He does manage to stim again before being taken down too much HP to get off. He does actually see that there's no hatchery building in the top right, so he may even still commit a scan to that. It's possible. Would be really crazy if Rush doesn't figure this out exactly what's going on, because it may really mess up his build order min-maxing if he's assuming that this might be a 2-base, very fast Hive timing here, and instead it's actually going to be a 3-base Hive timing. It might really throw things off in his calculations. So far, Action doing a pretty good job of deceiving him. And I mean, now he can even start to fortify this base at 12. So even if he does scout it, he can still say, oh, there's 4 Marines moving up into position. Mutas are hot on their tail, though. One Marine is kind of buying time and so that the others can get in there and get 2 of these drones up here. But looks like that's not going to transpire. Not even get a single drone. Does identify the transition with the Hydras now coming out to make lurkers. Only 2 Sunkens that are finished up in this natural expansion with no lurkers yet on the way. So there is a pretty big window to exploit here before this third Sunken finishes. He may pull the trigger.
Ooh, this is really scary, this moment. We've all been through it as a Zerg player. If you played Zerg, you can practice Zerg. This is when a lot of Zerg players will die. Jadong, one of the players who often falls to little attacks like this right before the lurkers finish, is a perfect moment to bust through. Now, I haven't seen a click on those Marines just yet, but they should have +1 armor by now. Armor should just be finishing up. Okay, it's not quite done yet, but it will be finished here in just a moment. And the lurkers are not quite done. This is like the perfect opportunity for Rush to break through. He's actually building tanks right now, so he's going to try and push maybe the natural.
Yeah.
And this play has been really, really strong and really popular with Terran players recently. Another dive into the main base, and this time he's come fully loaded with all the Mutalisks he needs to break these turrets, now dealing a lot of damage back here. And the Marines do not have medic support right now. These Marines are just going to get cleared out, and Action going to continue to stay and deal more damage. A Defiler's on the way, but it's not quite here yet. Lurkers are done. Will Rush be able to break through? Because he kind of has to with how much damage he's taken back at home.
Yeah, this pocket in the main base is very exploitable for Action with this comsat and depots blocking Marines getting in here. It's very easy to get them choked up into a nice, easily killable line. So doing maximum damage with minimum effort here. Now going to be just retreating home, happily churning away on these 3 bases. He knows as long as he doesn't take any damage, he's fine. But there's going to be a little bit of timing here for these tanks, although he's cutting these Mutas out here to try and see if he can get a snipe on one of these tanks. He might get one of these tanks, not quite getting the connection there, unfortunately. That would have been great if he could just take out like 33% of the DPS of those tanks. Is kind of crazy. It takes them so much longer to chew through those Sunkens, and every second is precious when you've got Defilers finishing up with Consume on the way. He just spotted the dropship as well. I think he did caught it. I think he did catch it with the Mutas. They're going to be hunting that down as well. So kind of everything going right for Action at this phase of the game thus far. It's looking a little bit awkward for Light.
Yeah, Rush just loses that dropship. Man, that is so painful. There's the Consume. It's already too late. Rush is in such a bad spot, and Action is looking great right now. He's going to go ahead and consume one of those eggs so that he can throw down a Dark Swarm at that front. And this tank push has been absolutely shut down. The drop has been shut down. The tank push has been shut down. The damage has been dealt in the main. Rush is limping right now, and Action is in such a good position. The only problem is it's going to be tough to get a fourth base here for Action. He's taking this really sneaky location up in the top center that worked out very well for him. But where do you take a fourth? It's going to be tough. There's a lot of bases around this map. Oh, a Greater Spire's on the way right now. That's crazy. Well, a lot of damage from this Irradiate. Oh my god, so much damage. But that's going to be fine. These Mutas are going to be made into a bunch of Guardians over on this side pretty soon. So, the fact that they've been all damaged is actually going in Action's favor right now. He's just going to make these into Guardians, and they will recover that HP.
I'm hoping Light senses this and scans this position. The mutas, he knows the mutas are hiding there, and it's kind of weird if they are not seen anywhere else. So if his spidey senses are tingling, he will know to scan that, or at least start to prepare for that. You can start to make wraiths in advance if you've got enough of a timing window. If not, you're kind of just forced to rely on Marines and Irradiates, and that's not ideal. So this is a lot of pressure that's going to be applied to him, and all his forces are currently at the front, so it's going to be very difficult to come back here. Even a Devourer being made just in case there was a Wraith play after scanning and identifying that. So everything's being prepared for by Action, and he's even getting a snipe on that vessel. That's kind of crazy. It's gonna be so long for him to chew through all these Sunkens, and the fact that the Defilers are already there, it's just gonna be a crazy mountain for Rush to climb in this game now.
Action tried to get some Scourge over to those Guardians to actually help them out a little bit, but Rush did manage to shut that down. He managed to prevent that from happening. The Devourer there is going to help out a lot, though. Oh god, Rush didn't see that coming. He was too busy paying attention to the Guardians over here, and he loses a big chunk of those Marines, and now it's such a small army. GG is called. Action.
Wow.
Taking it with the Guardian play to finish things off. Really, really well played. Tactical victory here from Action. And everything from start to finish there just went exactly as planned for Action.
Action is coming. Bully says Action Jackson doing some work. Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm happy for my boy. I like Action a lot. It's lovely to see him perform well.
Action firing on all cylinders today. He's in the zone right now. His next opponent will be Mini, spawning in the bottom right. Action here, top left. This is probably the best map for Mini to come out against Action, I think. If you get my drift, this is a crazy map. We're on Monty Hall. There's so much room for abuse and craziness. Yeah, from the Protoss here.
Absolutely.
I really think that Mini will be able to find a way to abuse Action and maybe get a quick win. I haven't seen a probe get sent out yet, so maybe we're not going to see quick gateway across the map or anything like that, but he could absolutely go for something wild here. Like, what are the chances that we get, Reaver Sair or something in this position?
I mean, it's pretty common on semi-island maps, I will say, Reaver Sair. This map does become very open once the lanes have become mined out. It just becomes like a free lane, normal 1v1 map with 2 island bases in the top right and bottom left. But until those bases are mined out, it's a crazy, shenanigan fest. Of whatever your nightmarish mind can conjure. No matter how devilish you are, you can always think of some new ways of playing on a map like this, and you have to be super confident. And players like Action and Mini are great in very obscure bizarre situations. They got great problem solving skills, and they're also quite, I would say, I'm not sure what the exact word for it is, but it's almost like they've got like an intuition for how to play in awkward positions sometimes. So I think, yeah, Mini's probably the best choice to bring out against Action, but I still like Action's chances here. I feel like he'll navigate this map extremely adeptly. He's already going for a very fast triple hatchery before pool play, which is going to work out nicely because it's going to be a Nexus first here from Mini in the bottom lane.
Wow, a macro play on Monty Hall.
Yeah.
That's a shock. We haven't seen one of those yet. I wonder how this will play out.
Well,
ZVP, it's surprising.
When this map first came out, this was what was thought of to be how you approach the map. It was thought of that these lanes were too frustrating to deal with in the early game to get like rushes and cheeses going, that this was the way to play, was to go for a macro build. And that's what also made the cheese plays even stronger, because you'd have a guy like just trying to play a normal straight up macro game and the other guy's doing some really crazy well prepared cheese that absolutely floors him. And it looks like we're going to be going back to the times of old where people figured out that this map was great for macro cheeses. And neither player going for anything aggressive thus far. We could have seen a little bit of a cannon rush action here, but there's just no way of like knowing for sure that that would even work. And with the geometry, like there's no, and against someone of Action's caliber, like it'd just be too awkward to go for that with a Nexus first. So both players going to be doing pretty much nothing but macro for the time being. I'm curious what the follow-up here is going to be from Mini though. Is he going to go really tech heavy and do something like a Reaver Sair, or is he just going to try and like do an early push timing here down this bottom lane now that he knows that Action's expanded here?
Yeah, I'm very curious how this will play out. The third base is kind of on an island, but it could be easily turned into another attack path if Mini decides to just send 4 probes to just long distance mine that one patch. As long as he pays attention and makes sure that they are all mining the same patch, he'll break through that really, really quickly. And then he'll have that defensive wall to shore up his backline, right? He's got the wall with the cannons. They can attack down a different path. It's complicated here as a Zerg player to hold on. And, you know, Mini can make it more so by just opening up more lanes and giving himself more attack paths.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he was a Nexus first does kind of slow down his Stargate a little bit here. And it does seem like Action's not going to go for like a hatchery heavy style, like a 4 hatchery before gas kind of like macro play. It's just going to be a standard build order, but with a bit of greed early on. So I think this still lines up nicely. I imagine 1 or 2 overlords will fall to the initial Corsair, maybe just 1. A Dragoon was made here, interestingly. Maybe to try and see if he can deny any kind of scouting into the main base here. Could be quite critical to deny him vision of what exactly is going to be the tech choice of the pros. A lot of lings are being made for Action right now. There's only 1 Zealot and 2 cannons. He can actually go for a bust here, saying this looks like this might actually be over for Mini right here, right now.
This is the same build that he did versus Mighty. He went for the speed before layer, and he's using it to just eviscerate this frontal base. The probe pull was really, really good here, and he's keeping this Zealot surrounded, but as soon as that goes down, probes are going to start to fall so quickly. He's actually got to target those down because the Dragoon is going to take aggro, but he's doing a really good job of killing off a ton of probes and putting himself in a good position. Now, you are totally right that several Overlords are probably going to go down with this Corsair being so early. I mean, it's, 5 minute 40 Corsair already starting to hit Overlords. That's quick, and with the build that Action's done, he's delayed his Spire by quite a bit, so he might lose even like 2-3 Overlords. We'll see how much of a supply block Action ends up getting. He spent a lot on lings, and he's killed quite a few probes. It's hard to know exactly where you're at in this game, and it's hard for us to even tell as an observer.
Yeah, I would say a slight edge to Action, though. I would say even though the damage wasn't as critical as I thought it would be, I thought maybe he was just going to absolutely annihilate Mini right there, right then. But yeah, looks like some great pro positioning. Going to be clutching on for dear life there. And now the transition is going to be coming out from Action. More of a normal game here, like a free base style. He has got 3 gases though, so it looks like this is going to be an air superiority situation. And we're going to be seeing a lot of Mutas and a lot of Scourge being made, trying to overwhelm the Protoss player before the tech can fully come online here.
Was this actually speed first? I'm not 100% sure on that. I need to find out those timings exactly when the speed is supposed to finish. in a regular, Spire first build. But I'll take a look at that later. I think in the last game, though, he definitely went for speed first because Mighty was completely taken off guard. I think that Mini also here taken pretty off guard by that sudden wave of Lings coming in. And now in this position, yeah, you're definitely right. Action is for certain favored, and we've got Sunkins out in the front. Action's ready for a counterattack, but Mini's not even ready to try and attack. Oh, there's the the extra robotic support bay. Reaver's Sarah going to be the choice. A base coming up on the center right. Is that going to be shut down by these mutas, though? If it does end up getting shut down, that's the real big difficulty with Reaver's Sarah is if you can't get into the base online. Oh man, all the Corsairs start to go down. We've only got 2 left. It means the mutas can actually kind of fight this. Another couple of Scourge coming in, but the Corsairs have nowhere to escape to. Gonna do their best to kind of micro around here and deal as much damage as he can. That was a great dodge there with those Corsairs, but only 1 remains and more Scourge are gonna come up here. The shield battery's not gonna be enough. GG Action takes out Mini and brings us to the final versus Sharp. What an incredible performance by him. The timings here so sharp, and that aggressive action style coming out, showing his true colors. The first kill there on Mighty with the Ling attack, the Ling stab here against Mini, and then straight into Mutalisk aggression. Dude, this guy does not play.
I mean, Mini's in a great spot if he doesn't die, but that's the point, is that it's very hard not to die in that position. You can't get 6 Corsairs in time. As long as there's enough Scourge zoning Corsairs and picking up Corsairs, it's just so hard. If you want to take a 3rd base, you can't afford to cannon up your main like crazy either. There's no good answer from Mini in that situation. That's what I love about Action. He's able to identify those kind of weird game states, and he knows how to exploit players in ways that other Zergs either aren't able to execute or just aren't able to identify.
Great play. Really a fantastic decision from Action to go for that kill there, because if Mini gets the 3rd online, then he goes just full Corsair Reaver. It's going to be such a shit show, but he just didn't have the money to do everything at the same time.
Yeah, Free Base Reaver says kind of like saying the game's going to go on for at least 10 more minutes. It's like in Terran versus Terran, when certain things happen, it's like even if you're in a good position, it takes a long time to actually win from there. So it kind of forces the game to really drag out, and the Zerg has to get 5-6 bases going and play out of their mind to just maintain any kind of air superiority and map control. It becomes a slog for Zerg, right?
Yeah, it's like when Protoss gets 4 bases. Yeah. And you're like, okay, well, we're going into at least 30-minute game.
Yeah,
it's so annoying. Yeah, you really have to play well, and you have to defend everything and make sure they don't get that 5th before 30 minutes. Otherwise, it's going to keep going again. Now you're going to play a 40-minute game if they get to 5 bases. It's ugh.
Yeah, luckily we don't have any Terran versus Terrans, because that happens the most in that matchup, and it's the most prominent. It's not just 5-10 minutes, it's 20-30 minutes to close out the game, even though you've got a clear lead sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. All right,
let's get it.
Sharp versus Action. Sharp, the final bump in the road here for Action on his journey to that all-kill prize. You can almost taste it at this point, but he's got to make Sharp take the L on kickback. It's a tough sell. This player who's already seeded. He made it into the round of 4 last season, had an amazing performance, just barely got taken down in those semifinals. So, this guy is basically the best Terran player in the world right now. The only one to make in the round of 4 last season. He's the big boy right now. He's the big one to be watching out for. Even though Light and Rush are so good,
Right.
You know, the power levels of these players rise and fall throughout the seasons, the different years, and Sharp is hitting a peak right now.
You guys better keep your scouters on and keeping an eye on these guys, because it's never quite for certain who's going to come out on top. And some of these guys have got, like, you know, crazy lives going on, and they can't quite commit as many hours to practice. So some of these guys take the game way more serious than others. Some of them, like, eat, sleep and breathe Starcraft all day, every day. Some of them don't. Some of them are like, you know, they got all this social life going on, or wives or kids to worry about. So some of the players can't quite put in the kind of hours as they would like to. So sometimes you do see players end up outranking one another depending on how much time they can commit to the game, or, you know, these other kind of factors that are at play. Especially the psychological element that you see in live tournaments can be a big factor as well. You never really know how someone stacks up against someone for sure. You better keep your scours on for that, guys. Oh, cancels the gas. Okay. So it looks like Sharp going to be adapting here and going for a fast expand build. We see a 3 hatchery before pull from Action. He's not messing around today, saying he wants to go big or go home.
My eyes just about popped out of my head when I saw that Action just went 3 base right off the bat. I mean, this is kind of what you expect on a map like this, but because this is what you expect, you can expect to get punished for that, right? Absolutely. And Sharp is the guy to punish you. I can't believe that Action is going for this play, but it's really going to pay off here, because Sharp unfortunately sent his SCV in the wrong direction, and he's found himself in a position where he can't really punish this. One Sunken Colony will hold off everything. He hasn't built that yet, and he doesn't have any lings here, so 2-3 Marines are going to come across the map and try to put some pressure on, but I don't think he can do anything with this. I mean, maybe he gets 1 drone kill. That's like absolute best case scenario, maximum amount of damage you could possibly get, but most likely these lings will just die without really getting, or these Marines will just die without getting anything.
Yeah, and he's fighting onto a high gun right now, so the drones actually can get a bit of a trade advantage. He can cycle out the low HP drones back to mining, so it's actually, he doesn't even need lings to defend against these Marines from that low to high transition here. This is what I love about Action. He understands the game and the geometry, everything so well that he knows how to get away with the bare minimum, and he always walks the tightrope so perfectly, and that's why he's such a strong macro player, because he's able to survive these crazy situations with the absolute bare minimum here. And you love to see it, like a player firing on all cylinders like this, and it looks like he might go all the way and get that all kill prize at this rate.
I hate to say it, but I think you're right. I don't think we may not end up getting a final game here. Jaedong sitting on the bench might not get his opportunity to shine. Because Action is playing just so damn good, and I mean the hold there on the high ground was so impressive with those drones. Not taking any damage and killing those Marines with only making 4 lings. I mean, his position is so good. Whatever he decides to go for here is going to be strong, and he's had so many good ideas in this series already. I'm very interested to see what he'll pull out with this big macro edge. And on kickback, there are some little caveats to that, right? He's got these bases up so early that they are going to mine out really, really fast. Right. We don't have a lot of gas, a lot of minerals at each of these bases. 3,000 gas at each Thespian Geyser, and 1,200 minerals at each mineral patch. So they really do mine out quickly. We're going to have a big explosive action here pretty soon, and then it's probably going to die down for a bit as he tries to get another third, or get a 4th base out, excuse me. He starts an evolution chamber though. Again, Shin, you're getting your wish. We're having Action play it his crazy Zerg style. And one great thing about having this hatchery up really early as well is that there are 3 locations you have to scan in order to find out where that tech is. Right. And We just saw Sharp scan 2 bases. He missed the tech completely. He has no idea what's coming.
Yeah, it's going to be that much harder for him to min-max his build order to set up to fight this later with having delayed information on that. I'm like a kid in a candy store, honestly. When I see players play the way I want them to play, it's such a treat. We will obviously see like a lot of Mutalisks come out from Action as well. Now that he's mining up these 3 gases, there'll be a lot more Mutalisks than usual afforded to him, even though it's a slower timing initially. He's now going to go up to a very potent amount of mutas to get a lot of map control going, and also set himself up for counterattack opportunities. It will be difficult for him to hold on to additional bases if he can't like keep the area superiority going and keep shaving off Marines. But as soon as you get a small advantage, you're sitting pretty. He does want to come in here and ideally kill about 5 or 6 SCVs though. Even though you're going crazy, Zerg, you kind of want to shave off a little bit of the Terran's economy. That's what he's doing now. He wants to shave off just a little bit of the SCVs as he can, just to put himself into that much more of a comfortable position. He's pretty much done that. He's gone in, he's killed like 5 or 6 SCVs, and then he's gone on the exit. Now he knows he's pretty much set up economically, no matter what happens, as long as he doesn't get sunk and busted here.
Yeah, that was beautifully done. Sharp keeping all of his turrets together to make sure that that area can't get busted. That was actually what I was afraid of, that Action would come in, just kill the turrets, and then take over the high ground, and getting your Marines up that ramp is an absolute nightmare. So having all the turrets together is a good choice, but it allows Action to get the exact amount of economic damage that he needs. Like 6 SCVs ended up going down during that, and now he can just chill. He doesn't need to really do anything. Just get those sunken colonies out, keep his upgrades rolling, get that hive going, keep the Mutalisk active, see if he can catch like a dropship or anything coming out. Oh, he's even going to come back in and get a few more SCV kills. It's just icing on the cake right now because his plan is in full effect.
Yeah, it's a pretty well executed from him as well. And this slows down the Terran so much. Like he's gone for 4 racks as well, which gives you enough Marines to fight the mutas usually and come out onto the map. But he's got Marines out on the map that are not really going to accomplish anything. That they're going over to an expansion right now that's not even yet being taken. He will actually hide the drone up there at the high ground base and take it up there, I think. Maybe just sneak the drone into a... Yeah, he's going to tuck the drone as far down as he can to see if he can get away with making this later if he sees that there's no hatcheries being made up here. I'm not even sure he'll track down that drone. I think he actually saw the drone. He's going to... Did he? Okay,
No. He's leaving a Marine there to make sure that a base doesn't come up. But he didn't see the drone. Drone's still alive, but it can't really take a base right now. Action, of course, he needs to get a 4th eventually, but he's pretty okay right now. You can see 1,300 gas in the bank.
Yeah.
That's quite a lot to dump into Ultras when that's ready.
I mean, the only real play you can go from here as Terran is like a dropship gambit, but if you don't fight the mutas well enough, there's no chance of that happening because the mutas can just shut down the drop play too easily. So there's no real easy path for Sharp to venture down here. And the mutas will keep coming into this pocket where the ramp is, because you need bio to come up here, because it will force a lot of lost mining time with the SCVs running to the safety of those turrets over and over again. So it does pin back most of the bio coming out to reinforce this as well, and there's no way it'll have enough to sunk and bust as well. Looks like the Ninja expansion is going to go down in the top left, since this drone is going to be finally taken out by this Marine. Yeah, this is looking pretty rough for Sharp. Like, Action is at the moment playing him like a fiddle.
Some of you guys might think it's dishonorable to take a hidden base like this, a Ninja expansion going up in the top left-hand corner. This is exactly how you play Crazy Zerg. You have to start throwing up bases all over the map and creating just problems for the Terran player to deal with. And eventually one of those bases will come up. You'll get a Nidus there, and then you'll be able to hold that spot. Ultras are going to be made here shortly, and we might even see Guardians too, because the Greater Spire finished once again. I hope that Action's not going to waste too much gas, though, on Guardians. If he wants to, get a big round of Ultras out, these gases are not going to last too much longer. Okay, it's actually Guardians for the defense. We don't have tanks pushing in right now, but... And with this many sunk, I think this is maybe an overcommitment to the defense here. Action being really scared about Sharp busting him right now.
Yeah, he's taking the game extremely seriously. Like, he's trying to remove any possibility of actually losing the game. This does require a lot of investment, like you say, but it does guarantee total safety. And he's able to he's made like 3 Guardians over here on the left to apply a little bit of pressure. These won't really do much besides like draw the ire of some irradiates. Has got Zergling to stop any annoyance in this top left, so he can start making drones up there. But now the Bible is going to move into position to shut down this third in the top left. But that does open up open up Sharp to a counterattack from action. These Guardians, even though they were made defensively initially, they will now be able to go onto a bit of a attack warpath here to this third base that's trying to go up from Sharp and slow that down and be a bit of an issue, because once he starts committing a lot of these irradiates to cleaning up all these Guardians, there won't be much left over for the Ultras that come out soon after that. But these Guardians do have to get a little bit of work done, because like you say, pretty big gas investment still.
I'm not a big fan of this, honestly. I feel like it could still work, but investing all that money into Ultras might have been a better call. Now, he's going to start to bait out these irradiates. Of course, forcing those out is pretty good. The Guardians on the high ground are going to take great trades against the Marines that are trying to come up here. It's pretty hard to clear this, but if we just get a couple of Wraiths out now, there's really no other anti-air to help out these Guardians. So, I mean, this is some damage. We're doing something here, but as long as I think Sharp keeps roaming the map and actually finding the bases, there's one more coming up at top center, another one over in center right. But as long as he keeps on shutting down bases, I think Sharp should be okay here. We're just about to run out of mineral, or we're just about to run out of gas, actually, at the third and the second base as well, which is kind of crazy. I hope we get a click on that extractor here soon, because those are running out very fast, and the irradiates are cleaning up all these Guardians.
Yeah, but I really do feel like in this next phase, I feel like Action, he's playing it the most like safest way possible, which does really slow down his explosion of Ultras, but I feel like he's still going to be okay in this game. It does open him up now for Sharp to maybe start to figure out a way of coming back in this game. I just think it's very difficult for him to shut down these expansions. And committing into Wraiths to help clean up the Guardians just slows down the vessel production even more. There's not a lot of vessels out on the map with a lot of energy, so as Action starts to just drizzle out more and more of these Ultralists onto the map, it's going to be very difficult for Sharp. Once Sharp can take his third base, he might be able to like stabilize a little bit, and Action will be mined out on these expansions relatively quickly. But there will be enough gas left in the tank for Action to go kind of crazy, pun intended, in the next few minutes. He will be able to churn out a lot of Ultras while avoiding any head-on engagements.
Oh, I think this Wraith is going to scout the top center. He didn't know about this until just now. This is a really big scout here, seeing that base. He can actually get up there and maybe shut that down. Ultralist counterattack is a big threat right now. There's nothing here in the natural. Actually, is he gonna do it again? Is he gonna win off of an Ultra counterattack? That's potential. Has a lot of potential. He turns around. I'm kind of shocked that he decided to turn here.
Yeah.
Great irradiates on some of those Scourge and the Ultras, of course, and Sharp gonna kill off the base that's easier to get into here first. There's not a lot of defense in the center right, so he kills that. Kill the drones, kill the extractor as well, and then maybe head up towards 12 o'clock. Now, I'm serious, guys. We are about to run out of gas at the natural and the third. And once those gases mine out, I mean, we're going to be back on like 2 gas for a little bit as the top center starts to mine and the main base starts to mine gas. But then, like that's only going to last for a little longer because the main will eventually mine out as well. Great job bringing in the Scourge here with the Ultras, getting a pretty good surround on all of this. Oh man, I think that every single vessel going down is a pretty big loss here for Sharp. He's going to go for an irradiate trick, a racer trick here on the top center to try and stop Action from mining at that base, at least for a little while. He's going to get a lot of drones. Look at all the drones going down here to this eraser trick. But he lost his entire bulk of army when it comes to those Marines and medics.
Yeah.
And he lost most of his vessels as well. This is a pretty big slowdown for Sharp. Is really going to be hurting here going into this next phase. He is also going to start to mine out on his natural and third, and that's going to cause a lot of problems here for Sharp in just a moment. He's starting to re-macro out all these Marines, but this is just not enough of a force to deal with all the Ultras that are on the field right now.
Yeah, as soon as you saw Action run away with his counterattack, that was him like completely changing the way he wanted to play this game. He's going to go in full macro mode. He will only probably engage out on the map now, and will just keep expanding and trying to out macro Sharp out on the map. He will no longer probably try to counterattack. He'll just try and swallow up these armies. Oh, that's a beautiful manual surround with these forces as well, and the Ultras and Lings in front will help body block this Bioforce from getting to anywhere kind of safety. This reminds me of that scene in like Game of Thrones where like the Hound's like saying to the Brienne like, safety, where the fuck's that? You know, there's just nowhere that's safe on this map for Sharp to come out here, unfortunately.
The Marines are still being bumped out here, but the Ultra number continues to grow. 5 armor, 2 attack as well. It's hardly even necessary for these Ultras, but it'll help the Lings to deal a little bit of extra damage whenever these fights happen. And Action is just out of control at this point. He's ahead in supply, and although those extra gases have run out in the natural and the third, he's got more bases popping up all over the place, and those gas numbers are going to start to rise. Going to take another fight here at the natural. Looks like Action may actually run by. No, he's just kind of threatening here. Yep. Going to force the army to retreat for a moment. Sharp is going to push out eventually with a big enough army to take a fight, but how many more Ultras are going to be on the field by that time? Some more gas is coming in now over at the top left. Sharp is pushing forward. Only 40 gas in the bank for Action. He really can't produce much Ultras right now, and look how slowly that's actually going up. Has Action kind of run out of fuel here? He's got only a few Ultras. He's going to go for a counterattack. Okay, here we go. That's been spotted. That one Marine actually making a huge difference because he might be able to block with some buildings at the front. Yeah, maybe. If he manages to land something in the wall, that would be really big. No, he doesn't have anything in the wall. Oh, God. This is bad. Yeah, the counterattack could just end the game right here, right now.
I mean, he is going to kill these 2 bases in the top left, so it does kind of put the game into a weird state. If he can somehow hold on to this attack and not take too much damage back at home, it's kind of a wild game right now. Sharp has still got a pretty big standing army out on the map, so if he can kill these bases, deal with this attack, and start to put the pressure on again, maybe he can turn this around into a victory. But it's a little bit annoying right now because he's kind of got a lot of fires that he has to put out, and a lot of the spinning plates are going to start coming crashing down for the Terran player back at home, since he can't stabilize against this threat, it looks like, at the time being. And there are more and more Zerglings being flooded in to help get into the nooks and crannies of this sim city to help clear out all the buildings. And with that adrenal upgrades, killing these buildings so quickly is Action. Just like Sharp pulling the trigger, coming into this 12 o'clock base. Only 4 Sunkens currently online, with a 5th being made, but eventually these Marines will chew through that with their upgrades with ease, take out this expansion, and then be relocated elsewhere to see if they can maybe end the game. But he's just taken so much damage to his economy that if he doesn't win with this army right here, right now, he's basically dead.
GG. Action takes it home. What an incredible performance here today. Gets the all-kill prize. Cumulatively, that's been growing over several seasons. 3 million won goes into his pocket. What just so well deserved here. Action played magnificently here tonight. He takes home this week of KCM and that all-kill prize. He's got to be feeling great. Big smile on his face right now as he carries his squad. Jaedong, with his feet up on the desk, won't even have to play today.
Damn.
Okay.
Whew. Action just kind of went crazy. Literally.
Yeah. You'll love to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Twice, Crazy Zerg? Or was that 3 times? No, twice. He went versus Rush. Did he build Ultras that game? I feel like he was going to, but then he didn't need to. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously would transition into Ultras late game. TVZ, but yeah, it didn't get to that state.
He won with the Guardian play in that game. Yeah, that's wild. That is so impressive.
Yeah, he's a beast, man. What a guy.
What should we talk about here at the end?
I mean, the main thing we can talk about is action. I mean, he was in most of the games.
Star of the show, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, Shine had a brief glimmer of stage time, and then it was all action.
Bisou did a little bit of work, yeah. But other than that,
Damn, he's good.
Yeah, he is freaking really good. Crazy. All right, let's just wrap it up.
Yeah, let's get it.
Wow, and so this week of KCM ends with a bang there. Action taking out his final opponent, Sharp, who we talked up a lot at the beginning of that game, but who kind of fell flat in defending against Action's pretty crazy Zerg style.
Yeah, I was anticipating him like keeping the science facility floating above the walls so he could keep rewalling whenever he needed to, but he eventually relocated that. A little bit shocking, honestly. I actually thought for a moment it was going to go to like pretty late game where he was going to be okay on 3 bases, and then we were going to see more and more bases sprout up for Action, and we were going to see a bit more of a slog of just them fighting for map control. But yeah, like Action's just been firing on all cylinders today. Really impressive performance, and that's now reflected in the points that you see. Zerg with 4, Terran 2, Protoss 0, flatlining at the moment, while the other 2 races are trying to reach the outer orbit here. Zerg on a very good trajectory. It looks like their rocketry is slightly more advanced than the other 2 teams thus far.
It's easy to forget, but Bisou had a pretty good performance early against Shine, and Light pulled out a pretty great game versus Bisou, and both of them performing pretty well, but Action really star of the show here, stealing away that limelight and performing completely out of his mind. I would have loved to see an Action versus Bisou game, though. So unfortunately, we didn't get to see that here. Maybe Bisou would have been capable of taking Action down. Definitely so. Mighty wasn't up to the task.
Yeah, I definitely think Bisou would have had way more of a chance. His style as well lines up with Action way better than Mighty's does. It's just unfortunate, but it is what it is. Sometimes you just get a player that plays out of their mind one week. You know, we were Sulky last week. Now it's Action. It happens, and sometimes, especially that, it seems to be a theme for the Zerg squad. There's like one ace player that kind of keeps the hive mind together, and the others are just lending them their energy or something with a spirit.
Yeah, that's that's all Jaedong was good for this week. Just hanging back, you know. Moral support in the chat, maybe giving Action some pointers, but at this point I think it's time for Jaedong to take some pointers from Action. This guy is on fire right now, and definitely big brain as well. Like the absolute girth on the brain of this man is crazy.
Yeah, I can't.
He's been performing so well.
I can't stress enough just how immense his ability is to identify game states. We as casters see pretty much the entirety of the board, and we are still struggling to figure out exactly what's going on. He's seeing half of the board and knows almost exactly what's going on. It's kind of crazy when you can do that at this caliber of play as well. Only a few players are usually able to do that consistently. And it's nice to see when a guy is actually like in his A game and is able to bring that star sense to the forefront and show you just what these guys are made of.
I wonder if we're going to see Action play Crazy Zerg in the SSL. I feel like it would be a missed opportunity if he did do that. But
I hope so.
You know, during the SSL, every single season, ASL, SSL, things get quite heated during that season in KCM because players are hiding their builds. They're looking for those little mental edges as well. If you're able to take down a player in the KCM with kind of a crazy build, maybe they might expect that, or they might, have like a little bit of that in the back of their head that might torment them. You might be able to, get a leg up over that opponent because of what happens in the KCM. So it's important here what happens. And Action, I mean, he's just going to be glowing with confidence going into the next round of the SSL. We're going to be back again after that next round next week, guys. Friday, once again. It's just so jam-packed with action, so much Starcraft going on right now. We really appreciate you guys coming to hang out in the KCM as well, keeping up with this series while all that, premier tournament stuff's happening at the same time. So thank you for joining us today. Shun, any last words before we head out?
It's been a pleasure and a privilege to bring you these games, guys, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. See you next time. All right.
Damn.
Killer. Absolute killer.
Yeah. It's kind of wild to think about, like, just dispatching 5 pro gamers like that in a row. It's just, I mean, the amount of consistency you need to pull something off like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And not just pro gamers, like top 4
like
best players in the world.
Besides Mighty, they were all top,
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy, man. It just blows my brain to think about.
Yeah, that's wild.
It reminds me of, like, when boxers train, like, or fighters train really hard, they'll do like a round with a fresh fighter each time. So they're getting tired between each rounds, but each round they're bringing in a fresh sparring partner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's like doing something like that, it's like the amount of toll that's taking on your body physiologically, because you're not just stressed in terms of having to execute consistently over like 5 games in a row. Like it takes a lot of effort out of you to like play like intense games that like you're macroing at like 400 APM every single game, 5 games in a row. Like it actually does take a bit of a physical toll on you as well. Whereas you're bringing in a fresh opponent each time, so those guys are fresh to go every single time. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, that's wild. And they're all communicating between each other as well. Like, oh, what do we need to do to take this guy down? Like,
who do we send out? How do we take him down on this map? Yeah. It's wild.
That's wild. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, you're taking down five grandmasters in a row, and the grandmasters are conferring between each other between games as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's insane.
It's like Magnus Carlsen type shit.
For sure. Yeah, I made this hard for myself again. I need to add more names to the Patreon. Son of a bitch. Why did I do this again?
Oh, I'll stop the recording.
Yeah, send that over to me when you can.
No worries, I'll get on it now.
Fuck. I really need to make this like easier for myself. I keep doing this shit over and over again.
Yeah, you gotta streamline, man. You gotta think like a factory, you know?
Yeah, I keep doing this shit. Now it's gonna take me another like hour to fucking figure this shit out. So what I keep doing is I keep using, like I keep putting my content everywhere, like all different files, folders. And that's so hard to change. God damn it.
You might have to like invest some time to just sit down and figure out the whole process to revamp it and restructure it, and yeah.
I went ahead and I accidentally deleted one of the files, and so now the whole like the project is still done, but the file to like go back and change the project is gone. You know what I mean?
Oof.
So, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
I thought the cast was pretty good though. I like how like it started off being not one-sided at all. You know, it was across the board eliminations, and you didn't quite know where things were gonna go. And then all of a sudden, like the hero takes the spotlight.
Right. Just super impressed.
I always know he can perform, but he doesn't always perform. So when he is playing his aim game, I think it's a real treat to watch. He's not one of the guys that can turn it on all the time, but when he does, it's fucking crazy. I've had times in the past where I've like talked up action a lot, and then he just gets like caught out somehow, and it like fizzles out and he dies, and it's like, oh, that's sad. But I always know in the back of my mind, like if like one or two things were slightly different in this game, like this guy would be smashing, you know?
Right. Shit. God damn it.
I think of him as like the weed warrior because he always hovers around like 420 APM.
Fuck. All I needed to do is just move that one file into another folder so I wouldn't delete it. Son of a bitch.
Oh, shit happens, man. Gotta roll with the waves, no matter how they crash. I know this is a bit of a real hard topic change, but I think letting go in general is probably one of the hardest things for a human to do, but is also probably like one of the most important things. Like we find it so hard to let go of everything in our lives, from emotions to, you know, random shit that happens to you throughout the day. And in psychedelics, that's like really pronounced, right? Like the ability to let go is like your ability to navigate that psychedelic space without having like crazy bad trips or anxiety inducing trips. And even to be able to go deeper into the trip, I find as well, like the more I'm able to let go, the more of a crazy interesting trip I can have. Whereas the more of a hang up I have, either the more shallow into the trip I go, as in like I don't peel off enough layers of the onion to go further, or it induces like negative things in the trip, right? Because it's like the trip is like it's almost like a quantum computer of subconsciousness. So your like subconscious mind is projected, and if you get any kind of anxiety or fear or and lack a sense of loss of control, because the inability to let go of control, if that gets too pronounced, it feels like that's the thing that is inducing pretty much any negative things in trips.
Thinking about tripping lately?
Yeah. What?
Having a few thoughts. Having a few thoughts about tripping.
Yeah. And I want to do DMT again. I've got some still. I'm going to pick a good time to do it. And now that I have done it, I realize like it's such a crazy apparatus. It's like, I don't know, it's like both something I think you don't want to treat it like a toy. You want to have respect for what you're dealing with, but you also don't want to take it too seriously in a weird way. It's almost like taking it seriously is a trap, because it feels like the initial effects are so, I guess it depends on how strong it is, but as long as you're taking a pretty heavy hit, I feel like the initial effects are like so explosive that if you aren't able to let go and you take yourself too seriously, or you take the situation too seriously, it feels like you can easily get caught in a loop. Whereas I feel like how do you, when you're experiencing ego death, in the sense that you actually feel your body like disintegrating and like ceasing to exist, but you still have this sort of like lucid conscious state, like you still exist but not as yourself. It's like almost you become an entity of sorts, but our human mind seems unable to extrapolate that and navigate that higher dimensional space, because it feels like you're literally moving up into higher dimensions, like, I don't know, like the fourth or fifth dimension or something. But our brains are so powerful, like biological quantum computers, it's just that it's like an instrument we don't know how to play, and it feels like these substances are allowing us to be played rather than play ourselves. It's like you're opening up your subconscious mind to project what it wants for a change, rather than being limited by your ego, because your ego is your conscious scope, like the radar, and it's only aware of what it's been exposed to and what it's honest with itself about the world, which is extremely limited. It's like putting blinders on a horse. They can't see anything but right in front of them, and that's basically what we're like all the time. But when you take heavy psychoactive substances like psilocybin or dimethyltryptamine, it's cutting all those connectivities and barriers that are usually there. But we still, even while experiencing that sense of ego death, we still struggle to let go. But when you can let go, it feels like you're hanging off of the cliff edge, and when you let go, you feel like you're going to fall and die. But if you can let go, you don't fall and die. You just kind of like float and you're fine. But your body is screaming at you, telling you that no, if you let go, you're going to fucking die, mate. Like, I don't know if there's some way of preparing someone's psyche going into those experiences in such a way that you can consistently let go. Like I've had trips where I've been able to let go and everything's cool every single time, and even when I've seen crazy threatening things, because I was able to be like, yeah, whatever I see is okay, that's okay, and because I think it's okay, I move on to the next part of the trip or whatever. But if you do get caught up and you can't let go, you do kind of spiral down. But I don't know if there's any way of like doing that reliably. Like, are bad trips just inevitable, do you think?
Bad trips inevitable.
Do you think that's part of the process, is what I'm thinking? I'm trying to figure out, is it that we're supposed to always be able to let go, to have those experiences, or is the inability to let go part of the experience? As in, you're supposed to have that terrifying anxiety and struggling to let go, but still get through it and still be accepting of the negative experience right then, right now, to then get through the trip. Is that, I'm wondering if that's like some kind of essential spiritual growth that we have to have. Like, what if there is no bad trips? What if it's literally our own projection of our subconscious psyche and whatever previous traumas that we've had or whatever, and then that creates like a post-traumatic stress response because you're perceiving these past traumas as present threats. But really, the trip is trying to help you confront those insecurities or projected manifestations of your traumas or whatever you want to call it. What if that's what we're supposed to do, but we're shying away from it because we're thinking about it in terms of like, oh, I need to let go and experience and just like, I don't know. I'm wondering if there's something we're missing with psychedelics. I feel like maybe
So-called bad trips.
Yeah, I feel like maybe we're not quite looking at it right. I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if there's like actually not such a thing as a bad trip. It's just it. Because I've had some really fucking weird experiences while I'm tripping, and I could have easily had them be really negative, bad trips, but because I was able to kind of not freak out and just be accepting of whatever negative thing was happening, it actually became quite a profound experience. And I would actually probably argue that some of my most interesting, memorable trips had bad trip elements, if that makes sense.
Kind of. Yeah, bad trip elements like insecurity, feeling scared. Like that's a given if you're gonna be
like you're given a trial to overcome, almost, and it feels like because afterwards I've felt not rejuvenated is the wrong word, but sort of recompiled, like going through the negative experience strengthened me against it at the same time. I don't know, it's weird because I found myself going into mushroom trips in the past and stuff with the mindset of like, sometimes I kind of wanted to have a bad trip. I know this sounds fucking crazy, but there's been times where I had like mushroom trips where I was actually like kind of invoking a negative experience in the sense of like not wanting to see an experience as good or bad, like kind of getting rid of the idea of good or bad and just getting the idea of this is an event. This isn't a good or bad experience. This is an event. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Just an event, and you shouldn't ascribe any labels to it. Is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Basically, that's like the Stoic principle of like everything that happens is just about how you perceive it, right? You're hurt when you perceive yourself to be hurt. You know what I mean? Like someone says something mean to you, the person who actually is hurting you is yourself by just thinking that you're hurt.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I think
that type of thing.
It's like we victimize ourselves on a subconscious, or at least we're not totally aware of what we're doing in the moment. You know what I mean? And it's like our silly little human minds are playing tricks on us. But that's still coming from the place of ego, which is weird because as you experience ego death, if you experience it heavy enough, it's like you're being ripped out of your body and you have no control over it. But even though you have the sense of ego death, you can sometimes still feel terrified at the lack of control over the process, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
But I wonder if...
All right, I need that sound file.
Yeah, I'll send it. By the way, I looked up like lots of trip reports and stuff on Changa, and a lot of people didn't seem to get the kind of experience I got. Like, it seemed like their first hit took a while to take effect, whereas I didn't have that at all. I had it like the second I breathed out, I was launched into something. Whereas from what I've I don't know if I had like a very mild breakthrough. I don't know what qualifies as breakthrough and what isn't. But from the trip reports I've seen, I've definitely experienced a different kind of experience than most people on Chang'e. Because they seem to have a more gradual progression into that launch.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't gradual for me either.
Yeah, but you did freebase, right? You didn't do Chang'e.
What's Chang'e?
Chang'e's when they like put the DMT into like a solvent, so they basically coat a leaf with DMT. So you're burning a leaf rather than burning just the DMT on its own. So it kind of like burns a bit better, and it can strengthen the effects, but make them slightly more gradual, apparently, but also make the trip last longer. So like rather than it being like a 5-10 trip, it's like a 20-30 kind of trip.
Well, yeah, that's the difference. Is that what you did? You did Chang'e?
Yeah, it's like it was 50% DMT strength. So like not pure DMT, but pretty high DMT. And I did about 0.11 grams of it or something like that per hit. So I guess like 0.65 grams of DMT per hit. I don't know. How much is that? I don't even know. The guy I got it off was basically like 0.1 gram is like the equivalent to a hit. So I just did 0.11. Although one of the guys said something like people that are good at like holding in DMT smoke have an advantage. So if you're good at holding it down and not coughing, you've got a big advantage with DMT because you can like get crazy amount of juice out of your hits.
No, yeah, that does make a big difference. Like freebase, it's almost impossible.
Doesn't it taste like burnt plastic? I've heard something like that.
Yeah, it's really strong. Like it's like one of the worst bong hits you've ever done. You know what I mean? Like it's really fucking heavy, and even worse because it tastes so like plasticky and nasty. But the funny thing is, like I took 3 hits and I just barely managed to not cough, and then I never coughed. You know what I mean? Because I was just like launched. I was gone.
That's another thing. It's paralyzing, right? Like literally, I feel like I'm falling and sinking into my chair. My arms go completely numb and limp. I can't even control my fucking body.
See, yeah, I still feel like you need to freebase if you want to have the full experience, because I didn't even have a body. You know what I mean? Like I was flying through space, which was like a kaleidoscope of images, and I didn't exist. It was just like pure my consciousness with no judgment, no frame of reference, nothing. Like there wasn't even like I'm seeing all these patterns, but I'm not even rendering what those patterns mean in the moment because I have no frame of reference. You know what I mean? Like everything is just stripped away. And that was like the death experience for me, is like, oh wow, there is a thing where consciousness can exist without a body. Do you know what I mean? That was like the feeling of consciousness without a human form, without a vessel, just flying through space. Like, oh, that's death right there. That's what's going to happen when I die.
So
you know what I mean?
What were you experiencing, like emotionally or in your conscious thoughts? Like
zero, nothing.
So was it scary? Like how would you describe what you were experiencing? Like
there's no reason to be afraid because you have no body. Like there's nothing there's no you. Do you know what I mean? There's no me. There was just my consciousness just purely witnessing like a fantastic light show. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like beauty beyond all imagining, right in front of my eyes, like witnessing it. You know what I mean? And inside my eyes, I remember saying after the trip that it was like a light show in my eyes rather than in front of my eyes. You know what I mean? Where it's like 3D all around me,
encompassing,
and I'm completely like surrounding and enveloping me from the inside out and outside in. Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of kaleidoscopic feeling. And at the same time, like I could feel like movement of going forward through the thing. Do you know what I mean? Which was really intense, but it wasn't feeling in the sense of real feeling. Right. It was like a sensing of like of an event. You know what I mean? Like a real, like just a knowing. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not like a feeling, not like a sensation, but like a real just experience, pure experience. And it was life-changing for sure. There's no way I could do it again that day. I was like, it was like the feeling of being like ripped apart from your consciousness, or not your consciousness being ripped apart from your body, is like the feeling of death. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's so frightening. Like the first hit, I did it a couple of times later where I took the first hit and then I was like, no, I can't do it. You know what I mean? I think it might have been like the first. Yeah, so I did it the first time and I broke through, and then the second time I did it, I took one hit and then I was like, no, like, no, we're not doing this. And then my friend convinced me a little later to like finish it and like do all 3 hits, and it was so tough. But it's like it is like real death sensation,
right?
Crazy level. But yeah, there was no fear, there was no like anxiety after the drug took effect. Like it was just that initial like a heart pounding, like, oh my god. You know, that like
I know
in my ears. You know what I mean?
Because I got a little bit of that, but not the full blown craziness. I guess I kind of like blasted off, but didn't punch through the membrane or something. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's you definitely felt that, like the wobbling feeling, like the
yeah. It was
that, like,
it was like having
intense humming.
It was like having. Not tinnitus, but like, you know, have you heard that ringing in your ears where it's like it feels like it's actually inside? It's like, it felt like that. Like it felt like a really intense.
It's not like you're hearing it. It's like like some sort of like neural feedback from your ears.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly that. Exactly that. That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
I got a bit of that, so I'm wondering if like, if I was doing big enough hits and did a few in a row, I might be able to blast off with this shit. So I might attempt it, but I would need someone to help me take another hit, because as soon as I did my first hit, I was a fucking limp in my chair, and then didn't even have any. I lost complete sense of self. I don't know how long for, but at least the first initial part of the trip, for maybe a good couple of minutes, I did lose myself completely. But then I eventually got my sense of body back again. I think I was like coming down from the trip quite quickly. Like I didn't blast off too much.
Yeah, it's fucking intense, man. I don't want to like diminish any experience that anyone else had. Like I know that Love Snow did it from like vaporizer. I've done that before. It's not quite there, but you really do get a sensation of it. You know what's I wonder if you guys smelled the same thing, but the thing that I always smell when I did DMT was mothballs. Did you smell mothballs?
I mean, now that you say it, I was getting a weird aroma, but I didn't. There's no way I could have put a label on it. I definitely wasn't thinking mothballs, but maybe I don't know what mothballs smell like. But I was getting a weird aroma.
Dude, just even thinking about that smell gives me like a weird feeling in my body.
I also,
like
I also wanted to say
That's
to you,
right.
ever since I've done it, I don't feel the same. It feels like there's something that shit does to you. Like, I don't know if it like opens up a door in your brain or something. I don't know what it is, but it feels ever since then, I've definitely not been the same. Not like the same kind of thing I get after like a profound mushroom trip. I mean, like, I inherently feel different.
Yeah, that same thing happened to me, man. It was a huge change for my life.
That shit's fucking crazy.
Oh, it's wild, dude.
And we
That's like,
we produce it naturally, which is even more weird, right?
yeah, it's like a dream state drug that your body produces naturally, and apparently when you're about to die as well. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's insane. It's insane to think that you can just do that. That exists like just outside of your.
I found myself literally like laughing to myself, even like while going to the bathroom, just thinking back to the experience. Like, I actually had that. That actually happened. That wasn't a dream.
Yeah.
That was something that I actually fucking did. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like a dream in that you really don't remember much. Like, your memory of it just sort of disappears so quick. But at the same time, it's like way more potent than a dream ever could be.
Because you're so lucid while it's actually transpiring. It's kind of fucking crazy. It feels like you're plugged into something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like your body still exists as well when you're dreaming. Like, you can feel your body, like you have sensations in your body that leak into your dreams, you know?
Yeah.
And the dream is based in a reality that you understand, you know what I mean?
But the effects of the dream are like so strong, it like creates like an overlay on this world, if that makes sense. Like, you can't even see this world while the fractals and shit are that intense and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, even if your eyes were open, you can't actually see this dimension anymore, at least for a very temporary time. What do you think it is? Do you think it's like your own subconscious mind, that you're inside, or do you think like there's something else going on? It's like some kind of crazy, weird, interdimensional shit.
Yeah, I'm not sure, man. I feel like it's basically, in my mind, it's your death sensation. You know what I mean? It's in a truest form, like what it means to be dead.
I mean, if that's what it means to be dead, death is kind of exciting.
It's not that scary, right? Like, it takes away a lot of the fear.
I mean, yeah, honestly, like, if death is anything like that, surely it's not too bad at all.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Like, being pulled out of your own consciousness and just being like a entity floating around in nothingness.
I mean, maybe that's home, you know?
It's not really nothingness, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I think that's what I learned, was like that nothingness is not really nothingness, you know? It's like, oh, the big scary black void after you die. That's not really what it is. It's actually like energy and colors, and like everything is flowing into itself.
Yes,
you know,
it's
like
nothingness in the sense of a lack of restriction of matter. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing.
A lack of like physical being. Physical, yeah. Whereas the consciousness continues to roam. You know.
But maybe that's home, man. Maybe that's where we come from. Maybe that's where we've always been, and we just take little detours to like have these little like weird experiences to put our consciousness through a straw for a while. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I did a little hot fix on the Patreon thing. I gotta fix that though.
Nice.
Gotta get a system. Gotta get a system going.
Yeah, you do. Got to streamline that shit. So do you know how much you were having when you were hitting? Like how much actual DMT in terms of like weight, I guess? I don't know.
No idea. No, I don't remember at all. It was so long ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Those are the type of experience that I wish like I could give to friends and family and stuff. Like,
yeah, I said that to
you guys need to hit this shit to just realize that whatever you're thinking about right now and like your fear of death is just yeah, that shit ain't all that important in the grand scheme.
I found myself recently, like while I've been like walking down the street, and I've been able to like visualize myself being this like tiny little dot on this tiny little planet in this tiny little solar system in this tiny little universe in this whatever else is out there. You know what I mean? And it just makes me laugh and giggle inside that people get so hung up in the drama of it all.
Quite funny, yeah. Quite silly when you think about it.
In the grand scheme of things, yeah. It's almost like we're taking a part in our own movie, you know, like we're playing roles, we're playing these people, like you're playing, you know, Scott, I'm playing me, and like we're just playing these roles for a while for some reason. We're like acting out some kind of weird cosmic painting or something, I don't know. Letting the universe experience itself through tiny pinholes of consciousness. Would you ever do something like that on your own? Or do you think it's like way safer to do something like that with someone helping you and that you trust, kind of thing?
I'd say it's safe, but just it helps. Like you need someone to help you to get through that fucking initial fear, you know? The anxiety of taking that like second and third hit is crazy, and like your lungs are just going on fire. Like it's so hard to just like force yourself to do it, but
I guess that's
if
part of the
someone's
ritual.
right there encouraging you, like, come on, man, come on, exhale, okay, ready, inhale, and they're like, okay, all right, one more, you can do it, come on.
Yeah, I feel like you need a cheerleader and a
exhale.
shaman.
Yeah, it's ready, go, because usually the third one, you're actually like vape, like your conscious is like leaving your body as you're taking the third hit. Like I remember like barely like inhaling like this, like, you know what I mean, like barely able to take a breath in
Like
on
really
that last
struggling.
time, because like my control of my body was almost gone, you know. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I definitely felt that from my hits. Like even just one hit was enough to make me like almost lose total sense of self. It's so difficult to do additional hits without assistance.
Yeah. Tough. It's very tough.
Hey, give me 1 second. I need to take a piss.
All right.
Yeah, I'm back, man. How you getting on?
Pretty well. And I tried to order a new microphone, and it keeps not. It didn't arrive. It's so annoying. I'm trying to get it to actually show up.
How long ago did you order it?
I ordered it, and then it got canceled, and then I ordered it again, and it got canceled again. They keep the Amazon truck people. They keep showing up. Okay, this makes no fucking sense because I've ordered like 20, 30 things to this house already.
Yeah.
And it always arrives, and then I order the microphone, and they just say, "Oh, undeliverable," and then they just leave. I feel like it's like a one really pathetic driver, like a Amazon truck driver, who it's way easier for him to just click undeliverable. Do you know what I mean? Rather than take 2 seconds to figure out where the fuck we are.
Yeah,
you know what
maybe.
I mean?
Yeah. That's kind of shitty, though. Attempted delivery. Or undeliver. It's not as if it's like Mount Everest he's got to get up.
Yeah, no. There's like 3 different buildings to my complex, and each of them has a name, and my building is Green Kohaku, and it's like just all you have to do is just look at the name, and people who deliver here just keep on going like, which one is it? You know, they'll call and be like, which one? And they're like, oh, it's the one that says Green Kohaku in front. It's the third one, right? But Amazon, for whatever reason, they don't even bother to call. They just send you a text. And the text says, we attempted to deliver, it didn't work. And then if you try to text back, it just gives you an automated response. And you can't contact them.
That's some bullshit, man.
Oh, it's such bullshit, dude. It's such bullshit. And the package was supposed to arrive on my birthday. So I was here on my birthday waiting for the package. It didn't arrive, and then the next day they said, "Oh, it's going to be on the 5th," which is like a few days later.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Okay, well, I'll plan to be home on the 5th." And then it arrived that day, on the 3rd. I'm like, what the fuck? On the 3rd at like 10 p.m. it suddenly shows up. They can't deliver it, and then it goes back, and it doesn't even like it's not even like, "Oh, we'll just attempt another delivery." It just goes back to the carrier, or it goes back to the warehouse.
It's fucking crazy.
Like, you really fucking mailed it all the way here, and then mailed it all the way back because the delivery driver couldn't take 2 seconds to read a sign. You fucking just animals. What the hell is wrong with you guys?
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. What can you do, man? That sucks that you're waiting for on your birthday as well.
Yeah, pretty annoying. I was hoping to get my own XLR microphone going so that we can upgrade the sound quality a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be good.
No, you're sounding very good. I got everything lined up here.
Nice.
Ready to render this. Looking good. Sound quality is on point.
Oh, I don't know when I want your opinion. Do you think I should wait a while before attempting the DMT again? Like, it's not been that long since I did it. Or would you?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter if you attempt it soon after or not.
Right.
Like there's like a chemical that will prevent you from doing it again immediately after, but it wears off within a day or so.
Okay.
And I feel like the longer you wait, the more that anxiety builds up.
Yeah,
it's better to do it sooner.
I'm not gonna lie, it's fucking nerve-wracking to think about, right? It's not like something to take lightly.
No, it's not. Definitely don't take it lightly, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't take it too seriously. It's not like it's going to kill you, you know?
That's what I was saying earlier. I feel like you got to find that healthy balance in between those two polars.
You got to respect it, but you also got to like not give it too much respect to where it like freaks you out and makes you not want to do it.
And makes it hard to like let go while it's happening and shit.
Yeah.
And push you the times you hit it. Oh man. I can't. I'm. How soon after? Like, I'm trying to think back to when I took the hits. I really feel like I would struggle to do a hit right away after doing the initial hit because I already feel like I'm blasted off. Like, how the fuck do you even take the hit without passing out or like slumping and losing consciousness in terms of like being already pulled out into somewhere?
Yeah, it's strong. You got to do it on your next breath. You know what I mean? Like you don't even take a breath in between.
Right.
You like breathe in, you breathe out, you breathe in more smoke.
So I just load up the bowl with like more than usual, like more than one hit, and then just keep lighting the bowl and taking more hits quickly after another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You just got to keep taking as many hits as you can. And yeah, it's definitely important to have someone there to hold it for you.
Yeah, there's no way I could even. I remember, like, I had not even enough sense of self to even know how my arms were orientated.
I would recommend just like starting an audio recording when you do it. Like, go next to your computer and you do the experience, and then immediately sit down at your computer and just start have the auto recording already going, and then as soon as you finish, sit down and just like talk about the experience. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I could. I found I would maybe feel like talking would be very challenging.
After the experience?
After the experience.
After.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you meant like as I was coming up, like
not
talking
during. No,
about.
no.
Okay, that makes more sense.
No, you just turn on the recording and then, take the hit.
And use it as
like just sit there,
a dream diary almost, to like dream journal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you end up saying anything while you're tripping, then it'll be recorded. You probably won't say anything, and then right as you're done, you kind of do like a dream diary, yeah, and you can get way more out of your experience if you have something to try to remember it by. You know what I mean? Even if your memory is only the memory of what you said afterwards, it's better than just your like memory of the event.
And also just just vocalizing it and thinking about it would help remember it more as well, I guess, as well.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, usually you'll talk to your friend, whoever's with you, about it, but I mean, even that can only go so far, right? You can't listen it back if you don't record it.
Yeah. Well, I've heard you can definitely break through on Chenga fairly reliably, so I might make an effort at it and try and do multiple hits in a row and see if I can blast off at some point.
Yeah. If that doesn't work, you can always freebase later.
Yeah. I
feel like that's the most reliable, but
I kind of like the Chenga though, because like it lasts for quite a while. Like you get this. It almost felt like the euphoria it was giving me almost felt like a cosmic orgy. Like I was like warm all over, and it was like really a very. I want to. It wasn't arousing per se, but it was like very sensual kind of euphoric feeling. You know what I mean? Like not necessarily sexual, but really euphoric. So I really do like the Chenga. Like it gives you a really nice body high as well.
That's nice. You could also do IV if you wanted to get really hardcore.
IV. Is that where you can like get a continuous drip of it while you're tripping, so it like keeps you in the trip for longer?
Yeah, there's a really famous guy, I can't remember who it was, who did that and like swore by it. He would have like a IV bag dripping the DMT into him like over a long period of time, just continuously tripping and like doing like trip after trip after trip after trip. You know, like he would like
Holy shit.
it wouldn't even be like not like just a continuous one, but like one huge dose, and then he would come out and then immediately hit it again.
Damn.
And go back into that realm again.
It's fucking wild.
Pretty insane, yeah.
Well, they should do more research on it, I think. Like,
yeah,
I feel like
we're
only just scratching the surface of what this stuff is and is capable of.
I agree. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there for sure. I haven't even done enough research on mushrooms.
No.
And that's like a basic bitch of a drug compared to the DMT.
Yeah, it really is. And it has so many like medicinal qualities as well. Like it's a great medicine if used right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what kind of a medicine DMT is, but
yeah, I don't know.
I feel like it's like it's like a medicine like where you've dealt with everything else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can like ascend to the next level, I feel.
Yeah, I don't think you would have I don't think you'd have much therapeutic benefit from doing it. Maybe just like change your sense of self or something. Like in terms of like therapy, not necessarily.
Apparently a lot of people get a lot from it when they take ayahuasca, right? Ayahuasca is an orally active form of DMT where you just...
Much longer trip and with a shaman present and stuff.
Yeah. Take a much longer trip and you're just kind of chilling. Well, you're not really chilling. You're like puking and, excreting all of the nastiness from your body. And a bile coming out of you and stuff. Yeah.
Like a purging ritual.
Like a purging ritual, yeah, that's right. God, this game was so insane with action versus light. Oh, dude, what a wild one.
Yeah, that's good.
What a fucking crazy build. It kind of like folded my brain over again, the way that action was playing this one. Like he just did not care about his third base at all. He was just like, all right, we're going in.
Yeah.
Let's just make it happen. Lots of sunkens at home. What are you going to do now? All of them are tough choices, you know what I mean? Every choice here is tough.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a bit of a genius sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever do DMT again?
Yeah, if given the opportunity, for sure I would. It's just, I would need some time to like mentally prepare myself. And, ample opportunity to get it set up.
Right.
It's such a difficult thing to do. But also so easy at the same time. Just takes 10 seconds,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Changa especially, it's as easy as like just putting a bit of weed in a pipe. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing. Like it's so easy to get going. Have you ever watched Into the Void? Into the Void. I'm bad with names. I don't think so. Let me see if I can find Into the Void, clips from it, because they did it. Into the Void movie DMT. Let's see if I can see this. Enter the Void. That's what it's called. Oh, okay.
So this is their description here. Let me send this to you. And I think they did a really good job with the sound. But they didn't really make it. It's not perfect, but it's a pretty good, interesting way to show DMT and like what it does. Yeah. Like it's an artistic. Obviously, it's incredibly hard to. Yeah, I imagine. Make a movie that would actually properly represent it, but. Well,
it's hard enough for humans to visualize higher dimensions anyway, much less like creating actual like renders representing those kinds of spaces.
Yeah, in a 2D medium, it's tough.
Yeah, very tough. Especially when the experience is actually all encompassing, where it's like doesn't just take up what's in front of you, it takes up everything. Right?
Did you get that video I sent you?
Wait, no, where?
It's on the casting booth.
Oh,
Chat.
I was looking in DM. I'll check it now. Pretty good render.
It definitely captures like the otherworldly feel.
Right.
Like the sounds are pretty good. They're obviously not the same, but
Well, you can't make it the same because you don't actually hear it like it's outside of your head, right?
no, that's right.
It's almost like you're hearing a frequency that's vibrating throughout everything. I don't know.
I wonder if this is like an amalgamation of like a whole bunch of different people's experiences. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
It feels like a lot of different things are going on. Because actually, this part right here, 2:40, is
So,
like kind of what I experienced. 2:39, 2:40, something like that.
Yeah.
Except with way more color and moving forward faster. You know what I mean? Like everything's kind of passing.
I don't think you can
On either side.
replicate the color though, because the vibrancy of colors I was seeing was like nothing you could replicate in this dimension. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then the next part is like almost like something growing. You know what I mean? And like maybe that's what someone else experienced and they said that's what they saw, you know?
Yeah.
And like there's like a whole bunch of different ones maybe put together.
Did you ever see any like actual entities, like things that, you know, weren't just shapes?
No, I didn't see any entities, but I've heard about it. Like I've heard about like the machine elves and stuff like that.
I didn't see anything like. I remember seeing entities interacting with me at one point, but I can't remember vividly exactly what they were like. But there was one point where I was seeing like infinite walls and ceilings, and there were these weird like insectoid like entities that were interacting with all of the walls and ceilings of this like tesseract. They weren't necessarily interacting with me much, but they were like passing through all these like infinite walls and ceilings, and they were insect like, not like Zerg like, but like alien insect. I don't know.
That's wild.
I remember seeing something insect-like on a mushroom trip once as well. It was like this massive insect-like entity that was all-encompassing the room. But these were like much smaller and infinite in number. It felt like they were indirectly interacting with me, because like while they were there, I was feeling like very weird sensations. Like even though I had no body, it was like I could feel things passing through my energy, and it was like, it felt like, I don't know, it felt not slimy, but it felt like something weird was like pushing through. I can't explain it. It felt like something going. Yeah, I don't know how to put it into words, really, but it was. I feel like I'm like forgetting some of the things that happened. Like, because when it happened, I remembered like thinking about it more, but now remembering back, I'm only like getting shards of what happened. Do you think like that shit is happening all the time, but we're just not like conscious of it? And like the DMT helps you tap into it?
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea.
At the very least, it feels like you're poking around in your subconscious mind in some weird way.
Yeah, true.
I guess the only thing that would ever make mushrooms more intimidating than DMT is the duration. Because if you get like a really negative trip on some other shit that lasts like hours, that's not so fun, I guess. But I guess with DMT, even if you have a crazy bad experience, like it's only going to last a little amount of time. It's not going to be super long until you're out of it.
I think you really need to watch Enter the Void, man. It's a crazy movie.
Yeah.
It's about a guy who lives in Tokyo who does DMT and then he dies after. And it's pretty wild, like his experience of death, and it's all first person. It's really weird.
Okay. Well, maybe I will watch it, but don't say anything more.
The whole movie is first person.
Yeah, I'll give that a download then.